where was I? All right, so we'll start off with the New York Knicks parade. Zoran Mamdani literally living life like a Disney princess. Every meme is this, bro. Every day, it feels like this. Everyone in New York is just like on a different frequency. Everyone in New York City is on some different shit all the time. Guys, you live in America, okay? Wake up. New York. Wake the fuck up. You live in America. This is a country run by pedophiles, okay? You can't be living in a totally separate planet. Like this socialism in one city shit. I'm done. I'm done with it. Spread the fucking wealth around, you know? Typical commies. Okay? They came out and they were like, sorry, we're doing communism in one city only. Not even communism in one state only. Right? We're doing communism in one city only. We're just going to have so much fun. It's going to be awesome. And everyone else can just fuck right off. Bro is doing the meme. He won't let me leave. Okay, man. I mean, it's true, though. This is true. This is how I feel. Yes, I feel trapped in this fucking cage that I'm in Los Angeles, California. Anyway, Truth Nuke? Yeah, I know. We watched it. We read this yesterday. The Truth Nuke that we read yesterday. We'll talk about Clavicular too. He's doing some crazy shit. But anyway, look at this. It's just unbelievable. It's unbelievable. Ask New York City how socialism in one city worked in Austria circa 1930. Yeah, it don't work. Anyway, speaking of which, though, look at this fucking speech, bro. He gave an 8-minute speech and it was a banger, okay? Here's Mamdani's entire speech at the Knicks parade, which is easily the best speech I've ever heard in an event of this sort. This man is literally fucking socialism pilling every single liberal, piece by piece. I have my criticisms of him from time to time, but god damn it, dude, he is literally like, he has become, as long as he maintains his role as like a movement guy, as long as that shine is still obviously on not just the guy, but instead the movement, which is, you know, obviously our goal here. Bro has more motion than you for real? Dog, of course he has more motion than me. What are you talking about? He's the mayor of New York City, dude. Dog, you know who else has more motion than me? Donald Trump, who happens to be the president of the United States of America. Some of you guys are like greatly overestimating my impact. I'm just one person. I mean, we're a big community. We have, obviously we help wherever we can, but you know, everyone plays a role. That's what I need people to understand. I play my role. You play your role. Zoran plays his role. Everyone plays a role. This is not about one person. This is about a movement that can hopefully change America's trajectory, hopefully change, you know, depending on how robust and how powerful it becomes, change the world, shock the world. Anyway, the point that I was trying to make, however, is that obviously this is not, you know, this is not a one-man operation. This is all of us. I'm just a megaphone for all of you. I'm a microphone for all of you. People love Valdez and Daria Liza while shitting on Zoran despite the fact that they wouldn't even be contenders without him. Okay, calm down. Chill. That's not true. But again, brick by brick, piece by piece, we build this with one another, okay? There's not one person that's like singularly responsible for anything. Okay? Yes, but that was the role that he was supposed to play anyway. How are we doing today? Parasite, grifter, nepotism, baby. Are suits fitting okay? Yes, they're fitting pretty good. Do you like it? What do you think about this one? Pretty good. I like that I'm over here being like, hey guys, no singular person is is more important than a movement that's that wants to put workers first and like improve people's lives. And then these guys' whole ordeal is like waging a fucking internet drama war at the behest of their favorite multi-millionaire who doesn't shower and who says it's the bottom 2% of society that's responsible for all the issues and not the fucking top 2% of wealth that controls everything. Like, hey man, listen, you might not appreciate this, but we're fighting this for you too, okay? And we'll keep fighting for you, right? I want you to have health care. I want you to have autonomy in your workplace. I want you to be able to own a home someday, you know? So you say, but put your money where your mouth is. Brother, I put my money where my mouth is, where your ass is. I put it all over. I mean, I'm doing a money spread on a daily fucking basis. I don't know what you're talking about. You don't care. You have been told, you've been lied to by other people. There's a reason why so many of these other people that are, you know, that are in this movement don't see it the same way that your favorite fucking delusional internet edgelord does. Yes, we're going to get to JD Vance. I was at the parade and it was so poorly run. They said they expected 1 million people, but only a few thousand were let in, even though people bought tickets. And is this sewer socialism? Yeah, I don't know what happened with the fucking parade situation, but I can't speak on how it was run. It is pretty funny that people are just like, oh, why don't you put your money where your mouth is? Just like, dude, do you have any idea on anything I do? You don't. There was no ticket, Lamau. Cheddar got scammed. There were no tickets. It was free, Lamau. I think there was probably a ticketed event in City Hall. Yeah, they're malding over there. Maybe because their favorite content creator is getting the fucking zapper today. Their favorite content creator is at odds now because he's like, do I be pro-Israel? Am I supposed to be pro-Israel today, or am I supposed to be pro-Trump because Trump and JD Vance are shitting on Israel, but I've been defending Israel for like the last month. Based. Why are people copying you? What do you mean? Yeah, what's the mold man's opinion on the Iran deal? That's who I go to when I want to know about geopolitical conflict. Guy who's never left his home, who doesn't know anything.
My fellow New Yorkers, for 53 long years we have watched and we have waited. We have watched from nosebleeds and through gritted teeth, on televisions in the windows of electronic stores, and from projectors balanced on fire escapes. We have watched alone in our apartments with our heads in our hands, shoulder to shoulder at bars where the signal flickers, alongside friends and family who we wish more than anything could be here today, sharing this moment. For 53 long years, we have watched the Knicks.
I heard MAGA Mitch is no longer MAGA. He's a MAGA communist after this. That's what I heard. MAGA Mitch has decided he's actually a MAGA communist. Is happening. The alliance is taking shape, folks.
And we have waited. We waited as the memory of Willis Reed winning the championship on one leg grew fainter and fainter. We waited as Clyde came up clutch again and again. As John Starks dunked on Jordan and Patrick Ewing dunked on the Pacers. As Bernard King scored 60. As Charles Oakley pulled every rebound within reach. As Spike got in Reggie Miller's face. As Allen Houston put up a shot against Miami that hung in the air for an eternity.
I'm going to be honest with you. He doesn't know any of this shit, okay? He doesn't know any of this. I mean, great speech, but like, you know his ass is just reading the lines, okay? I'm sorry. If he was talking about Arsenal, I'd be like, yeah, this is his wheelhouse. He's selling it, though. He's selling it.
As Larry Johnson gave us the 4-point play heard around New York. As Starbury traded threes with Kobe and then sold sneakers every kid could afford. As Nate Robinson stuffed Yao Ming. As the city came alive watching Linsanity. And as Melo lived every Brooklyn dreams when he came home. and made MSG feel like the center of the universe once again. We waited without ever knowing if this day would come, and we waited because we knew.
Yeah, Melo's done now. Okay, it's Brunson time.
Deep down in our sick, suffering hearts that it would. New York
You hating because you'll never know this much ball? I mean, I don't. But I'm pretty open about it.
City, this team has done it. The New York Knicks are NBA champions. We are here not just because of this team that will go down in New York City legend. I'm talking about guys like Ronaldo Balkman, Marty Collins, Raymond Felton, Marcus Camby, Kristaps Porzingis, J.R. Smith, Iman Shumpert, and the whole Knicks tape era.
J.R. Smith mentioned.
I'm talking about guys like Tony Douglas, who I watched tie the single-game franchise record for 3.
Trying to get the pipe mention. You're trying to get the pipe mention. One of the greatest eras of basketball. J.R. Smith, the Swish God. Okay, never mind. I'm back in. He's right. He knows.
From the stands in 2011. I'm talking about Amari, who got this whole city fired up when he joined. And I'm talking about Jared Jeffries and Lance Thomas and Langston Galloway. Players who gave everything every game, even when a 20-win season was all that was in sight. This championship belongs to them too, because championships aren't just built in one season.
You tried to besmirch him? I did.
It belongs to Emmanuel Quickley, R.J. Barrett, Dante DiVincenzo, Julius Randle, and also to a coach who helped lay the groundwork, Tom Thibodeau. Thanks to each of these New Yorkers and too many others to name, New York City has just had two of the most magical months in as long as any of us can remember. Over these past weeks, as the Knicks kept winning, our city has come together as one. Neighbors invited neighbors over. Strangers high-fived one another in the street. Subway conductors sang their announcements and bus drivers danced behind the wheel. So often when this city comes together, it is because we are forced to, by a moment of tragedy or adversity. What a gift it is to be brought together by pure, unfiltered joy. For as long as we live, we will remember this feeling of a city together. A city alive, a city overcome by happiness. But let's not pretend that this was inevitable. If you will allow me, I want to travel back in time 8 days. Game 4, 9 minutes and 33 seconds left in the fourth quarter. The Knicks are down 20. The analytics guys, the sports betting companies, the pundits who watch from far away, they do what they do. They run the numbers. They calculate the odds. They write the Knicks off. They give the Spurs a 99.6% chance of winning the game. A 99.6% chance of tying up the series 2-2, of reclaiming the momentum with the next game in San Antonio. A 99.6% chance of silencing the Garden, of another year of watching and waiting. But there is one thing that the pundits just don't get about this team, that they just don't get about this city. It is in that 0.4% that we go to work.
He's a numbers guy. He's a numbers guy. He crunched the numbers. I know you like the number. Okay. I say to myself, Donald Trump, he signed the MOU. And I say to myself, I'm a numbers guy. I'm going to look at the Knicks and I'm going to chat GPT it and I'm going to grok it. And I'm going to find out what the percentages are because I'm a numbers guy. And then I'm going to tie it back.
And the Jalen Brunson, the same guy that so many said was too small, proves that not only is he good enough, he is the new standard for greatness. It is in that 0.4% that OG Anunoby watches the ball float from the top of the arc and start running toward the basket, fingers reaching towards the heavens. It is in that 0.4% that Karl Anthony Towns finds the strength to mourn his mother and still pull in rebound after rebound, make block after block. It is in that point.
Bro, this is a wild speech. I mean, it's very good, but it's also insane because it's literally like a rally speech, but specifically about the New York Knicks. in the finals and the history of the Knicks as well. He's doing a campaign speech going hard in the motherfucking paint. Like
4% that
it's
Jose
crazy.
Alvarado shows every
bro.
kid growing up in public housing that a son of Brooklyn and Queens can win for every one of the 5 boroughs. It is in that 0.4% that Mitch breaks his finger before game 1 and says,
dude, you are so jealous, Lamont. Why would I be jealous? What are you talking about, man? Are you okay? Is your brain all right? Yes, New York is on the up and up. I jokingly say that, like, you know, we're on the outside. Give us a little bit of shine. Calm down. You don't have to be omega autistic, chatter. Can I make fucking jokes? Jesus Christ, what is happening?
go get the tape. It's in that 0.4% that Josh Hart gets rebounds that break teams, that McCall Bridges proves he was worth every single draft pick, that Landry Shamet pulls up from downtown, that every one of these 18 players transforms the franchise, that Mike Brown keeps this team believing. Most of all, it's in that 0.4% that the Knicks do what New Yorkers have always done when we are told something is impossible. We find a way. We win. Standing here before what feels like the entire city, there is a Jalen Brunson quote I can't stop thinking about. I'm gonna tell you. You are allowed to think about the worst possible scenario, but you gotta go out there and do something about it.
Gramsci.
When Jalen Brunson took that pay cut, my friends, that was doing
Pessimism of the intellect, optimism of the will.
something about it. Time after time,
I mean, Jalen Brunson's story is actually incredible. I mean, what a crazy
thought
journey.
about the worst possible scenario. And time after time, the Knicks went out there and did something about it. The Knicks did not just win for New York City. They won like New York City. What is New York if not your back up against the wall? A dream that feels just out of reach. A rent payment you don't know how you'll ever make. What is New York if not 99.6% of the world stacked against you? And who are New Yorkers if not people who hear those odds and smile?
That's it. Fuck it. I'm voting for the Knicks for governor. I don't even know anymore. I don't know. I'm illegally voting for Jalen Brunson. I'm doing a write-in campaign for Jalen Brunson for New York governor. I don't even know. I'm confused about the orders here. I'm just fucking fired up. I don't even live here. I don't know what's going on.
Who look at a 0.4% chance of success and ask, why are you giving me a head start? This is our city. This is our team. For 53 years we watched. For 53 years we waited. Now we've won. One last time, New York, say it with me. Nixon! 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 So much.
He broke it. He broke the fucking, the aura. Stop LARPing as a New Yorker. I'm not a New Yorker. Literally, very famously not a New Yorker. Anyway, if you want to see some fucking peanut butter and jealous time, okay, let's take a look at Dolan, who made a not so subtle remark.
John Starks dunked on Jordan and Patrick Ewing dunked on the Pacers. As Bernard King scored 60. As Charles Oakley pulled every rebound within reach. As Spike got in Reggie Miller's face. As Allen Houston put up a shot against Miami that hung in the air for an eternity. As Larry Johnson gave us the 4-point play heard around New York. As Starbury traded.
Wait, what the fuck? Oh, I clipped the wrong clip. Sorry. Here.
Look, I don't need your vote. I don't need to quote to you, right? About what happened here, and because if you're real Knicks fans, you know it already.
Thought this was you on the left for a second. Really? The glow down, Bad Bunny glow down? You put me on the Bad Bunny glow down train, 9-year physical globe of Puerto Rican global superstar Bad Bunny. What is happening? I have just haters everywhere, man. Anyway, yeah, Dolan Dolan, yeah, and the crowd goes mild. Dolan reminds people that he's a billionaire and therefore he doesn't need anyone's excitement. He doesn't need anybody to like him. He can be pro-Trump all day, every day. He does not like Zoran Mamdani. He had to get some in there. He's like, I don't need your vote. I'm no fake fan. I don't need to quote to you about what happened here because if you're a real Knicks fans, you know it already. Jim Dolan with a much less rousing speech. Not once has Zoe been given courtside seats. What if there was a hypothetical that either Americans don't get free healthcare, which they don't deserve, or you adopt me? Great hypothetical, dude. Yeah. Dude, there's nothing funnier than trying to get your licks in on a popular mayor in your moment of glory. Like you just need to fucking sit there. Jim Dolan wanted no part of the picture with Mamdani when he gave him a key to the city. Yeah, by the way, the key to the city shit is so smart because once again, every speech that he makes, right? You can compare to Eric Adams, who had a lot of swag, had a lot of aura, let's be real, but like, you know, I'm going to keep repeating this over and over again. Eric Adams gave a key to the city to Diddy. Zoran is giving it to the New York Knicks. Just saying, just putting it out there. Look, obviously he's making the most of a very, very fortunate string of events. Very fortunate for us that he happens to be a democratic socialist, a cadre, of the organization, someone who is obviously carrying that banner with every initiative that he takes. He's like, good governance is forever associated with democratic socialism in New York City, hopefully, once his tenure is over. And the same goes for this wave of insurgent candidates that will hopefully do their very best to govern just as well.
This is the key to the city that we will be presenting to each of the players, and it is the first key that our administration is giving out since it's been only 6 months. And it is designed by Azra Khalfan. It is manufactured by him, designed by Anish Bhupati. And the typography of the key is actually designed by Tobias Freer-Jones, who designed the typography of the 9/11 Museum, NYU, a lot of the kind of iconic typefaces in our city. It's really elegant. And we're so honored that he did this.
And you put in the order months ago? That was very brave of you.
You gotta plan. You gotta be ready. As a fan, you never want to talk about it, but as the mayor, you gotta be ready.
Well, you were prepared. Thank you for stopping by on your way to parade. Enjoy.
I wish the city keys could open any lock in the city. That would be insane. What the hell does the key do? It's just symbolic. It's just a symbolic thing that mayors do historically. They give a key to the city to people that they're honoring. Okay. I mean, it's brilliant. He's doing a masterclass on how to fucking feed off of the momentum in New York. And any victory for New York doesn't just feel like a victory for New Yorkers, which it is, but it's also a victory for like Zoran Mamdani, which also happens to build on the momentum for democratic socialism. And that is what this is all about. And he's doing a fantastic job with it. Let's see what James Dolan did, though, with Zoran giving him a key.
Quentin Dolan.
God damn, dude. He's just like, fuck you. Buddy. What is this? Just fucking be nice. Just make nice. He's over here smiling at you, Didn't even look for the photo. It's just so funny, man. Not even barely a handshake. He's just like, fuck off. I'm just here. Give me the key and move on. It's real bozo behavior. Like, we get it, dude. You fucking like Trump, okay? We get it. You're a billionaire. You hate democratic socialism. You hate Zoran. Like, this is one of those moments where I'm like, can we just not make everything political? You know what I mean? this is one of those moments where it's like, you don't have to make everything political, big dog. Like Donald Trump is smarter on shit like this than James Dolan is. Donald Trump would never in a million years behave in the same petty ways in a situation like this, because he understands, like, there are moments where he'll be petty. He is the pettiest man on the planet. He's petty white, right? But there are certain moments where he knows, like, the situation is larger than him. He already fucked up with the whole, blowing the Knicks streak by making the event about himself. But in a situation like this, he would probably play ball. Also, this was really funny. I do want to point out something, and this is not a joke, ladies and gentlemen. I'm being very serious. Woke Sharia has been implemented in New York City, and part of that is obviously anti-white activity, anti-white action, and the Basij militia of Zohran Kwame Mamdani, also known as the Strategic Response Group, the SRG, that he was supposed to disband. He has not disbanded, and many of you have been obviously critical about this, myself included, but it turns out it was because the Strategic Response Group is actually doing anti-white action. Here it is. This is Tyler Kolek and the cops, the cops of the NYPD are going to tackle him because they don't know that he's a player and they think he's a random guy because they're like, he's white. He's a white boy. Behave, white boy. You are not supposed to be here right now. That's so funny. He looks like a streamer. Yeah. That is massive aura loss. Like, massive aura loss. They confronted him for not being gay or Muslim. Yeah, so what happened here is, look, the first guy comes in and says, hey, you're white. You're a white man. You're not allowed to celebrate unless you're gay. And then the second guy comes in and goes, show me a picture of you sucking a cock. Okay? And then the first guy goes, unless you're also, or you could be Muslim, right? Like, say the Shahada right now. And they hold him down. And the other guy goes, say the Shahada right now. Are you Muslim or are you gay? Because you can't be a white man. You can't be a white cishet man and celebrate on this glorious occasion. We will beat your ass. Yeah, they're demanding he do a land acknowledgement. And he goes, he yells at them and he does a land acknowledgement right there. He goes, look, he says, this is stolen. What's the tribe in New York? Which one is it? Algonquin? Is it we're on, he goes, we're sitting on, you cannot, Lenape? Yeah, okay. Yeah. Iroquois, Lenape. He turns around and he says, look. He says, we're on stolen Lenape land. Like, you better take your hands off me. Clearly. And then they let him go. Pretty sure it was because he used the incorrect pronouns towards the first cop, so we called for backup and the other one came in. Yeah. He tweeted, I swear I'm on the team, bro. Oh, that's funny. Bro's got 7,000 followers on Twitter. God damn. What's that? It was the White Mamba who said famously, like, it doesn't matter. I won the chip. A couple years from now, I'll say I got 5 minutes. And then a decade from now, I'll say I was, I was a starting five. I was in the starters. I was in the starting five. And then, by the time this is over, I'll be talking about how I dropped 40. I butchered the quote. Yeah. He can turn around and say, I'm closer to LeBron than you are to me. Can we get a Solid Snake as the head of the DSA trying to convince Topi Duden, to join the DSA impersonation? No, that seems insane. It's good for the soul to picture all the Zionist billionaires, gutter journalists, ghoulish influencers, AIPAC funding politicians, and disgraced former mayors of New York City stewing over how quickly and completely New Yorkers have taken Mamdani into their hearts. Yeah. Straight up. Toby Durden, I'm calling you on behalf of the Democratic Socialists of America. As a next governor of South Dakota, you have a mission. You have to stop the Metal Gear. And the only way to do that is by joining the Democratic Socialists of America. Toby Durden. There you go. Turby Derby. Guy who says Turby Derby over and over for 5 minutes regularly? No, that's silly. Okay, well, I did it. Yeah, what's really interesting about this entire experience, I think, is that the mayoral position is a very difficult one, and it's a often very unpopular one. And to give Zoran his endless flowers that he deserves, he has genuinely taken this position and turned it into a popular one, which, like, Bill de Blasio was a lot closer to Zoran's worldview. Obviously, never all the way there, but like a lot closer to Zoran's worldview than you know, Eric Adams is. And Bill de Blasio was endlessly panned, was endlessly yelled at as the mayor. So the fact that he's capable of taking this role and moving further to the left than even Bill de Blasio did, and also simultaneously still maintain this kind of aura, this kind of positive approval with what he's doing, is actually a very impressive feat. Sid Rosenberg talked about Zoran's speech. Oh, my favorite purple guy. Wait, he follows me? What the fuck? He's purple for an amazing reason. Thanos? My phone is blowing up with texts from people saying, good thing you're in Israel and you missed the parade. Guess a fraud radical jihad mayor did the most talking? Not surprised. I told a bunch of folks at Yankee Stadium last night I wouldn't go even if I was in New York City because of the shitty mayor. He's a fucking disgrace. Jim Dolan repeated what I've been saying for 2 months, which is Mamdani is not a Knicks fan. The Knicks are great. The city sucks. Glad I'm 10,668 meters in the air. Yeah, he's flying to Israel right now to invent a new shade of purple. One that you have never seen before. Like, he's going to, when he unveils his new skin tone, you are going to be shocked. He is going to shock the world. And I mean, like, literally, not shock the world because you're like, oh my God, I've never seen a human being that color before. You're going to say, I've never seen that color before. Okay? We're not just talking about a new color for human beings. We're talking about a new color altogether. Only a color that bees can see. Yeah, he's gonna invent a new color altogether that is going to be so strange that it'll cause dogs to react to it. Like, this is a frequency of color that you'll be able to smell from afar. This is the type of skin tone that you have never seen on a human being, but you've never seen altogether. Dogs will respond to it. Dogs will be like, this is the first time I can see color. Anyway, so congratulations on Sid Rosenberg and his collab with Pantone. I look forward to seeing what he unveils. He's cooking up in the shop. Also, I won an award. No one's talking about it, but I won an award as well. And that award is probably the most important award. Now, obviously, as you guys know, I've lost a bunch of awards in the past couple of years. I don't even get invited to, like, the Webbies anymore or any of these other fucking shows anymore because, you know, post October 7, you know, my invite's been getting lost in the mail, even though I'm one of the largest content creators in this space. It's fine. It's not a big deal. I did also obviously lose to Candace Owens on the Anti-Semite of the Year award. However, there's one award that I did win, and it's probably the most important one. Las Culturistas Culture Awards 2026 winners, ladies and gentlemen. I'm up there with other honorable names such as Madonna, who won the God Must Have Spent a Little More Time on You award for Divinity, the Linda Blair Award for Most Terrifying Child or Children in Media. The Children of Weapons won that. Hereditary Little Diva Head Come Off, Scariest Moment in History. And many people are saying that the most important award for the Las Culturistas Culture Award was the Break Me Off a Piece of That award for the man we want to dip in the chocolate. And I won that. Hassan Piker, they can never get my king. So thank you so much. Obviously, I worked really hard to make sure that I win this award. They're always trying to get me, and they couldn't get me just yet. So thank you. There's at least some awards that I'm still winning out here, and I really, really appreciate that. I defeated Mr. Peanut, clothes off, and that hat too. As for your cane, there's a place for that at the door. Simon Cowell from 2004, Hot Squidward, and Mike White, Abs Now Survivor. I defeated these guys thoroughly, and they can all suck me. Okay, that's all I gotta say. Thank you so much. This is sincerely an honor, the greatest honor of all time. It feels like this is what the New York Knicks must feel like right now. You know what I mean? When they're doing the day parade. That's how I feel. Don't show this scene from the parade to the insane AI lady. Oh, I saw this where she like literally fully shows her booty. So I don't know if I can show that. I don't know if I want to show that because like her butt cheeks are out in the open and she's just twerking on her hater. So I'm not going to show that, obviously, because I don't want to get banned. But, you know, show for context. No, guys, I don't want to get fucking banned. Okay. In any case, Fox on the Knicks parade, Lamau. Yeah, we covered this yesterday. It was very funny. You can show Chung.
You see that we were able to bring you those moments right here.
God, dude, this is from 2025. Why are you Chung posting? I love him. And every day that I see his beautiful head, like look at the shape of his head, bro. The camera can't even comprehend it. Look.
To bring you those moments right here on Live Now from Fox.
God, he's so beautiful. Fuck. God, he's so beautiful, bro. He is the most beautiful man that has ever existed. I love him. I love him so much. Look at him.
Bring you those moments right here.
Look at the shape of him, dude. Chung is a fucking cryptid. No, he's not. How dare you? Keep it my Moshtaba, Ayatollah Moshtaba Khamenei about the New York Knickerbockers' victory. In the name of God, the compassionate, the merciful. It has been 53 years for the New York Knicks to finally arrive at a moment of glory, just like the IRGC. Just like the IRGC arrived at its moment of glory. To the passionate and loyal nation of Iran. We'll look at that in a second. Said the whole government name? Yeah. Body for body, Randy Fine versus Stephen Chung. Stephen Chung. Randy Fine is like a regular fat. Stephen Chung is like Stephen Chung has like edges. He's both rotund and also has jagged edges that you could possibly cut your finger on. You know what I mean? I've just never seen a shape like that before. I've never seen a shape like that on a person, and I've never seen a shape like that in general. He looks like a pentagon. It's brilliant. It's incredible. His body is a wonderland, whereas like Randy Fine is a regular fat, you know? Non-Euclidean Chung-nometry. Yeah. Mathematicians have been studying Stephen Chung's shape. They've been studying Stephen Chung's body. They've been studying his shape. And they have found out that, you know, no human being has ever looked like this before, ever looked so sexy. They're looking at his build. Anyway. He needs to be at fashion shows doing the catwalk with his unique silhouette. I agree. All right. Let's get started, ladies and gentlemen. Trump hails Iran deal as details emerge. A new Treaty of Versailles has been unlocked, and this time we're also not dissimilar to another country that had famously signed a treaty at Versailles that was a huge historic defeat that then led that country into, a dark pit of despair and fascism. I'm, of course, talking about the United States of America and also Germany. We are Germany in this equation. Let's be real. And who knows where we will go. Hopefully, unlike the failed German Revolution, this time we won't allow fascism to win. It is hilarious. I don't think Trump knows what this symbolizes at all. I'm willing to bet Donald Trump had no fucking clue that him signing this would literally be the identical situation. Now, it's not in a train car, so maybe it's a little different, right? But ultimately this is, I mean, I was thinking about this. I was like, this is fucking crazy. Like how similar this is. Like how things never change. Like it sometimes feels like history is playing a trick on us, right? Like it's 1-to-1. An immovable object is met by an unstoppable force, a seemingly unstoppable force that is stoppable. Democrats will run in November on punishing the June criminals, revising the Treaty of Versailles, and redeeming our national honor. Yeah, that worries me a little bit, because then it's like the Democrats are gonna do the stabbed in the back myth. The Democrats. Someone's going to do the stabbed in the back myth. And, well, I do think that someone is actually fucking the Republicans currently. They're the ones who are doing it. Surrender document being signed at Versailles. Yeah. Gay Hitler is one step closer to being real. I mean, gay Hitler was real. He was just Adolf Hitler. This is the second coming of gay Hitler. Everything is the same, man. It's crazy.
Overnight in the gilded halls of Versailles, President Trump putting pen to paper.
This was not easy.
Signing the deal which reopens the critical Strait of Hormuz, rewards Iran financially, and lays the groundwork for 60 days of talks to resolve Iran's nuclear program. The president acknowledging Iran's stranglehold on the strait was putting too much pressure on the American economy.
I didn't want to see economic catastrophe. If you kept this going, that could have happened. But all I know is every time we talked about the possibility of peace, the stock market shot up like a rocket ship.
But for weeks, the president has insisted the financial strain on Americans wasn't a motivating factor in his negotiations.
Well, he was
Not
lying.
even a little bit. The only thing that matters when I'm talking about Iran, they can't have a nuclear weapon. I don't think about Americans' financial situation.
Under the deal, Iran and the country of Oman will administer the strait, something that was not the case before the war. The waterway will reopen toll-free, but it's unclear if that will hold when the 60 days runs out. In return for reopening the strait, Iran will see immediate financial relief. For the first time in years, the U.S. lifting restrictions, allowing Iran to freely sell oil. The U.S. also committing to negotiate lifting all sanctions against Iran and the release of billions of dollars in frozen Iranian assets if certain progress is made.
It's not our money, it's their money, and we froze it. At a certain point in time, I guess we're going to have to give it back.
But last month, the president said this.
No, we're not talking about any easing of sanctions or giving money. No sanctions, no money, no nothing.
As for the issue at the heart of this conflict, Iran reaffirms that it shall not procure or develop nuclear weapons.
One of the funniest aspects of this deal has been, in an effort to criticize the Trump administration obviously taking this ginormous L, liberals have now recognized something that they never recognized for some weird reason, which is the idea that Iran already had signed off on its reaffirmation that it shall not procure or develop nuclear weapons, both in the JCPOA and also in the numerous rounds of negotiations that took place where America and Israel engaged in an act of perfidy and struck Iran. Well, where was that energy before? It's so strange because if I recall correctly, 110, 111, 120 days ago, no liberal was saying this. As a matter of fact, they kept repeatedly saying Iran can never have a nuclear weapon, giving sufficient reason for Donald Trump to take some kind of militant action. Where was everybody on that note? Now, that the memorandum of understanding is being signed and a war is ending, liberals have remembered that Iran had always said that they were not going to procure or develop nuclear weapons. How interesting. Liberals have now taken to saying the Strait of Hormuz used to be open and Iran had committed to not developing nuclear weapons before Donald Trump attacked Iran. So what have we gotten out of this deal? Well, nothing. But where was that fucking energy when Donald Trump was initiating this conflict at the behest of Israel? Where was that understanding in the beginning? Trump got Iran to promise not to develop nukes, which it already did, and get the Strait of Hormuz open, which it already was. Them should stick to that note and not the damn handout to the terrorist stuff. Yes, that is what the Democrats are talking about. That is what the Democrats are advancing as a talking point. But I don't think we should let them get away with the fact that they weren't saying that beforehand. Many of the Democrats were not saying this fact beforehand. And yeah, Democrats with a B. No B, sorry. Democrats, no B. It's really interesting. It's really, really interesting. If you recall, there was one guy who kept fucking repeating this point over and over again, trying to hammer it. I was like, hey, Democrats, you already have the JCPOA. You can just point to that. You can just point to the JCPOA over and over again. Meanwhile, this is what they're coming up with. I'm for the war ending, but no buts. It's good. It's good that this war is ending. The lesson to be learned here is we shouldn't be waging wars. We should be charting a different path forward. We should be engaging in diplomacy. We should be exhausting all available options of diplomacy. Always and forever. This was my take last night. I said, Iran won. Not yesterday. It won when it closed the Strait of Hormuz after we attacked Iran. And we did that at the behest of Israel. Now, what's interesting about this is that Iran had actually refused to do this thing that they had the power to do for decades, as Mossad and the CIA were meddling in their affairs, as the United States had implemented some of the worst sanctions that they had ever seen. And they never used this tool that they had in the tool belt for decades. Why? Perhaps foolishly, they were willing to do diplomacy the entire time. The lesson to learn here is that we should stop demanding more war. We should stop this endless militarism. We should stop our economic sanctions terror regime. Democrats, stop demanding more war. This is good. It's fucking ridiculous. Stop legitimizing why Trump might take military action, because it's going to happen in Cuba. It's going to happen in Cuba, and I know Democrats are going to be like, well, Cuba is an authoritarian nightmare with a horrible economy, but Trump is not following the process. If I hear Democrats say this, oh my Lord, oh my fucking Lord, do not give credence to why American militarism must continue while simultaneously offering finger-wagging notes on process. It's unbelievably stupid. Americans hear you say that and go, okay, then yeah, of course Donald Trump is going to behave in the way that Donald Trump does. This is what they did with Iran. The entirety of the Republicans were obviously on board with senseless death and destruction, because they always are. And while the Democratic Party's base of support was begging for an end to our unlimited allegiance with Israel, and Donald Trump was being directed by Benjamin Netanyahu, being played like a fiddle by Benjamin Netanyahu, who was openly saying like, oh, I wanted to do this for fucking decades, and Finally, I found a sucker dumb enough to follow through on this. Democrats kept repeatedly saying Iran can never have a nuclear weapon. Iran is a horrible authoritarian country. Iran is killing all of its protesters. Iran has killed 10 million Iranians with a nuclear weapon that only kills Iranian civilians that refuse to wear the hijab. All of this stuff. But we must follow process. Why is Donald Trump not telling us why he's killing, why he's going to go wage war with Iran? Like, we know why he's doing it. Why are you giving him fucking legitimacy? Don't do this. Important lesson for you to learn. I watched this yesterday. Yes, Master Shake going ape shit. I watched it yesterday. It was awesome.
Reaffirms because it's the same promise Iran made in the first line of the nuclear deal struck with President Obama. But unlike the Obama deal, which Trump tore up during his first term, this agreement with Trump makes no other nuclear commitments, no plan to dispose of its highly enriched uranium. Instead, the agreement is to continue negotiating. As an incentive, the U.S. says it will work with regional partners to commit $300 billion for the reconstruction and economic development of Iran. Money Trump insists will not come from American taxpayers. On day one of the war, Trump vowed to obliterate Iran's military and missile capacity. But now, a change in tone.
They have to have some because other people have some. You got to have some.
On Capitol Hill, members of both parties slamming the deal.
This looks like a great deal for Iran and a terrible deal for the United States of America.
Republican Senator Bill Cassidy posting before the war the strait was open, Iran was being crushed by sanctions, and 13 service members were still alive. Now, 13 Americans are dead. Families have paid billions at the pump. Sanctions will be lifted, and the bombing has stopped. Adding, this is the worst foreign policy blunder in decades.
And this morning, President Trump is firing back at his critics, saying those who think he hasn't been tough enough on Iran are, quote, either jealous, bad people, or stupid. Meanwhile, Iran's chief negotiator is claiming victory. Robin.
All right, Mayor, thanks to you.
Gas prices continue to fall in the wake of an initial deal with...
Yeah. Here is an important element. Like I said, over and over again for the past couple of days now, since the MOU was like potentially being signed, you are about to see the Israel lobby tuned up, cranked up to 1 million. Okay? You're about to see shit that the Zionist lobby has not even done yet. Like new weapons to surpass the Metal Gear being deployed here for propaganda. Okay? Netanyahu's office briefing CNN that they basically see specific journalists and politicians like Lindsey Graham and Mark Levin are named later in the article as assets they can activate at the flip of a switch. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu is aiming to influence the final Iran deal, according to an Israeli source, using right-wing media figures and friendly senators to exert pressure on President Donald Trump. Again, this is a very important part of how the Israel lobby works. In many contexts, the money is less important than more personal networks of influence connecting key figures like these. And it doesn't even matter that these guys don't have a real viable audience, for the record. What matters is they have access to Trump. They have Trump's ear. They can talk to Trump. They can chew his ear off. And that's how Israel gets to exert its influence. Like, for example, Israel doesn't have any popularity in the American masses any longer, but what can they do? They can go after prominent critics of Israel, ritualistically humiliate them, bully them, deploy bot farms at them, try to activate their editorial teams in media outlets that are supportive of the cause, supportive of Zionism, to engage in this manufactured outrage machine, activate their advocacy network, their organizations, their NGOs, to make a big fuss about where certain people are going. I mean, I've experienced this, right? I've experienced this personally. To create an environment of pressure and fear when they know that the public, the masses, have moved on. The masses are demanding something entirely different. This is how you subvert the democratic process. This is how you make it seem like in the halls of power that there is still a tremendous amount of support and a tremendous amount of leverage. Are you the guy who shocked his dog and fucked some guy's mom after? Yes, I did. yours and the dad. But that is how this works. Anyway, as I was saying, like the Zionist lobby's influence campaign is not going to work on the masses because the masses have moved on from Israel. The masses don't like Israel. Israel is a pariah state in the eyes of many people for good reason. However, they still have tremendous amounts of influence and tremendous amounts of leverage over people in positions of power. There are also obviously people who are ideologically in support of this project in certain media outlets that will do their very best to try to create some kind of pressure, to try to create some kind of fuss, to manufacture some kind of outrage. And it's important for us not to fucking lean into that. It's important for us not to understand exactly what that is and not fall victim to this kind of propaganda, to fall victim to these sorts of attempts. I don't recognize President Trump sometimes says Uttar Pradesh's very own vivid prowess. His tone, his way of words, the way he somehow, for some degree, defends the number one sponsor of terror, the Islamic regime in Iran, while at the same time criticizing Israel for defending itself. What on earth is going on? Americana says, being frank about what everyone knows is true but is never allowed to say is exactly how Trump talked in 2016 and is what gave him broad popular appeal. We could have kept the war going and the strait would still be closed, objectively true. We can't tell Iran they're not allowed to have ballistic missiles when everyone else has them is a statement of fact. Europe said he's not regurgitating delusional talking points written in Tel Aviv while doubling down on destroying the global economy. There are dozens of things he could be saying that are also true, but so unacceptable politically, even he can't say them. I'll take it, though. And this is a great example, by the way. This is a great example of Trump just saying the fucking truth, right? It lives in my mind permanently about Vladimir Putin and about, our guys.
Do you respect Putin? I do respect him.
Do you? Why?
Well, I respect a lot of people, but that doesn't mean I'm going to get along with him. He's a leader of his country. I say it's better to get along with Russia than not. And if Russia helps us in the fight against ISIS, which is a major fight, and Islamic terrorism all over the world,
right?
Major fight, that's a good thing. Will I get along with him? I have no idea.
He's a killer, though. Putin's a killer.
A lot of killers. We got a lot of killers. Why, you think our country's so innocent?
That is a banger. I think a lot of people refuse to comprehend how much mileage you can get out of just simply saying the truth that many politicians are refusing to say. Zohran Mamdani did this with Israel, if you recall. When they were like, where would you go? Why wouldn't you travel to Israel first? Just like all of your other counterparts on this debate stage. And he was like, because I'm fucking trying to be the mayor of New York. I don't give a shit about going to Israel. Like, that is a moment of naked honesty that every single person intrinsically understands. And yet they also understand another thing. The fact that many politicians will refuse to say the truth like that for some weird reason, right? Those moments of clarity, those moments of honesty help so much. They allow you to chart a different path. They allow you to break through the noise. They allow you to rise up above the rest of the political class. Because people also get it. People get it. Donald Trump had so many moments like that in 2016 on the debate stage, where he would point to everyone else and go, as a billionaire, I've bought all these guys. Now, obviously, he's still a corrupt monster, but the point remains that politicians rarely ever deploy the truth. If you have truth and justice on your side and you say it out loud, you can have confidence that the masses will respond in kind. You can have confidence that the masses will understand where you're coming from. And they will reward you with loyalty. Ryan Grimm has a clever little, summarization of some of the common sense things Trump said today that were nevertheless shocking. Everybody else has ballistic missiles. Why can't Iran? The frozen money belonged to Iran, and the U.S. needed to release it. Otherwise, nobody would trust the dollar system. Why should we steal their money? Neighboring countries use nuclear power for electricity. Why can't Iran? Israel shouldn't knock down entire buildings in Beirut every time a drone or two crashes harmlessly in the desert. Trump would have become Herbert Hoover in the next few weeks once oil ran out and the market crashed. He had no choice but to end the war. That's it. These are not rare things that people can comprehend. These are actually very commonplace opinions amongst the masses, at least amongst the masses that are knowledgeable on the issue. These are things I say all the time. And yet, while most people get it, there is still this environment in mainstream outlets in polite society where, like, you're not supposed to say those things. So when Trump comes out and says those things, a lot of people go, wait a minute, he's right. We don't have any confidence in the masses. We don't believe that the average person is capable of seeing right from wrong, or the average person is capable of seeing the truth when someone says it. A lot of our politicians are afraid. They're afraid that they're going to get bullied by the media. They see figures that do actually come out and say the truth, and the way that the media treats them, the way that the lobbyists treat them, the way that they are, the way that they're turned into pariahs in polite society. Well, you don't need polite society. You don't need societal elites to back you. You need the people to back you. Okay? And if you say the fucking truth, the people will back you. Trump uses that as an opportunity. He wields that as a weapon in an environment where none of our political class want to say the truth. He has those rare, honest moments that he basically wields like a knife, like a hot knife cutting through butter. And that is how he gains tremendous amounts of leverage, tremendous amounts of influence that he uses for nefarious purpose. No, that one is the last one. Yeah, that's the last one. That one's the middle one. Democrats held the House, Senate, and presidency for 2 straight years from 2021 to 2023. Why didn't you steal frozen Iranian funds or start a private investment vehicle to cure cancer during that time? Why didn't you end homelessness? Do you actually care about these things, or do you only bring them up to score points against a historic peace deal? For what it's worth, both parties are allergic to holding up executive and legislative branches specifically because people start asking these kinds of questions. Yes. I love this because in a moment of sundowning lucidity, despite everything actually happening, he said something wholly true, and now everyone is rushing to defend American hegemony.
Yeah. No, I'm saying that if other countries have them, it's a little bit unfair for them not to have some.
It's just objectively true. And it's so funny that Trump gets to say this now. I'm glad that someone is saying it, and I'm glad that the person saying it is on a fucking bully pulpit. Okay? Because I've been saying it for fucking years, and when I do, people call me a goddamn terrorist. Now, of course, I don't think that's going to change. Trump supporters will still, on the one hand, say, oh, well, my president said it, so it must be true. And then simultaneously say, oh, well, Hassan, you're saying it Islamic style, and therefore you're a fucking terrorist. But this is a normal truth that everyone can comprehend. It's a basic truth. It's a simple truth that everyone can comprehend. What sovereign nation would remove or restrict their defensive capabilities at the behest of fucking Israel? Why is the United States of America, supposedly a separate country than the nation state of Israel, making these decisions or forcing a foreign country, a foreign sovereign state, to restrict their striking capabilities so that they can't fucking restrain Israel if Israel gets to be an expansionist project, a destabilizing factor in the region? Yeah, they'd call Hassan a terrorist for saying this. Trump, if other countries have ballistic missiles, it's a little bit unfair for Iran to not have one. No, they'll call him a terrorist because he supports terrorist groups vocally. There it is. Immediately. Hassan said he wants Iran to have nukes. They did call him a terrorist for saying almost exactly this. Yes, because he's a terrorist sympathizer. Duh. Would be the least terrorist agenda thing he's ever said, to be honest. It's so funny because, again, this is just objectively true. It doesn't matter if Donald Trump is saying it. It doesn't matter if I'm saying it. It doesn't matter if the Iranian leadership is saying it. It doesn't matter if the Israeli leadership is saying it. It's still true, right? And yet there are a lot of people on Twitter who are completely fucking brain poisoned. There are a lot of people who watch mainstream media and read mainstream outlets and legacy publishers and think they're making educated guesses on this stuff. That look at an objectively true statement like this and go, no, I don't agree with it. They don't go beyond it, though. They don't even explore why they don't agree with it. They don't even explore why this is an objectively true statement. Nobody cares about anything. We all live in post-truth. It's all cognitive dissonance and willful ignorance all the way down. Nobody has principles. It doesn't matter. Yeah, Republican senator officially proclaims Iran has a right to defend itself. We're clearly living in a new reality. Iran demonstrated its strength and resilience. Now it has a sovereign right, previously only given to Israel. Cannot overstate how disastrous this war was for hawks. Now, the irony, of course, and I need to repeat this over and over again, and I will continue to do so. The only reason why we arrived at this position is because Israel got everything it wanted. Those war hawks, those neocons in the United States of America got everything they wanted. They have been fantasizing about this moment their whole lives. They've been fantasizing about striking Iran their whole fucking lives. And they got it. They finally got it. Trump gave them exactly what they wanted. And they realized, or at least Trump realized, that they bit off far more than they could chew. This is America's dog catching the car moment. Lucky for us, at least Trump is selfish enough and narcissistic enough and worried enough about the markets that he is not doubling down, tripling down, quadrupling down, going up the escalation ladder and going all the way to boots on the ground military warfare to completely collapse the global energy markets, right? But this is it. The dog caught the car.
Senator, are you okay with Iran having missiles?
You know, I'm hesitating. I'd prefer that they not. I certainly don't want them to have long-distance missiles. I don't want them to have nuclear-armed missiles. I would prefer they didn't. But I don't think that's the key issue here. I think that they have to be able to defend themselves. And I just kind of come back to the big picture here, is that the Middle East countries like this agreement.
You think Iran needs to be able to defend itself?
I do. I think that they have to be able to defend themselves. Otherwise...
Beast mode. Beast mode. Fucking beast mode, dude. This reminds me of Donald Trump's anti-war hawk rhetoric that was unbelievably popular with the base. He never followed through on it, obviously. But like that, there's an appetite for that isolationist framework. There's an appetite for it amongst the masses. They hear that and they go, yeah, why are we spending so much fucking money blowing up other countries, man? An important lesson to learn here is for any leftist in the future, you can harness that energy. You can harness the demand of the masses.
Is that we turn this into a forever war. You're never going to get them short of boots on the ground of surrendering everything, an unconditional agreement, if you will. But again, what I'm getting at here is this agreement has the support of most of the countries in the Middle East, and I think that's going to give it more of a long-lasting relationship.
Yeah, the other countries also want this to happen because they've realized that there is no way out of this and that Israel is the real destabilizer. Anyway, here's JD Vance also using this opportunity because they are fucking much better room readers to shit on Israel, to abdicate responsibility from the hands of the Americans and give it to Israel. Iran won this war objectively. Here's another example. Italy decided to reopen its embassy in Tehran. It's over. Iran, going forward, if Israel doesn't fuck this deal up somehow, and I still think they might try, but the stakes are far higher now. Stakes are far higher. People are looking to blame someone, and many will blame Israel. Israel deserves a lot of this blame. America deserves a lot of this blame as well. Americans, the American government, will now blame Israel to abdicate its own responsibility in this endeavor. Okay? Israel will fall on that sword, and they will fall on it gladly because they love fucking chirping. They never shut the fuck up. They're the most arrogant, entitled country on the fucking planet. Petulant little children. They'll play that role so perfectly, not realizing what they're doing. And America and people like JD Vance and even Donald Trump will throw them under the bus going forward. Here's one example of that.
Go ahead.
If Democrats had a sufficient response that blamed Israel from the start, perhaps the Republicans would look like they're biting off the steez of the Democrats here. But they didn't do it. They didn't say the truth from the start. They were too afraid to say the truth. So now Trump and J.D. Vance are going to look like they are the ones who own the anti-Israel lane, because the Democrats are fucking stupid. Remember that. They were too busy yelling at me. They were too busy trying to stop the insurgency that understands the moment, that wants to make necessary changes. They were too busy getting their fucking AIPAC contributions through different subsidiaries and shell corporations. And so many dumb people are going to let Trump and Vance abdicate responsibility. The populist coalition types like Glenn Greenwald are so thrilled over this because they get to defend Trump and Vance. Again, is the true America first anti-Israel people don't fall for it, everyone. Brother, it's not even falling for it at this point, though. If the Democrats are letting this happen, then yeah, it's not even falling for it, because the Democrats have not stood by from the jump and said, we should not be going to war with Iran. Iran is a sovereign country. This is fucking totally ridiculous. Donald Trump is getting goaded into this war by Israel. What the fuck are we doing? Over and over again. Instead of saying that over and over again, they kept saying, oh, well, I just think personally that, Iran is the big bad. It's an ontologically evil entity. But Trump is not following the fucking process. Trump is not following the process. You should follow the process. We'll sit idly by and allow Donald Trump to do all of this stuff, and then we'll wag our fucking fingers. I was there. We were all there. We saw it unfold. We talked about it. And now that the MOU is here, they're chirping about the fucking MOU because they're a bunch of morons. Imagine if the Democrats were, from the jump, critical of the nature of the relationship with Israel, critical of Donald Trump's actions, not giving any credence to why Donald Trump is doing this, and instead spent every waking moment saying, no war, no war, no war, just peace. Israel is goading us into this war. It's fucking bullshit. Donald Trump is the most compromised president of all time. What the fuck's going on? Right? Now they would have built sufficient credibility in this space so that when J.D. Vance and Donald Trump start blaming Israel, they could go, hey, we're the ones who told you so, right? They could turn around and say, we told you this was dumb. We told you this was stupid. We already had a guy. His name is Barack Obama. He did the JCPOA, much better option. It's important to establish credibility ahead of time, okay? Anyone with a fucking brain could have seen this is exactly what was going to happen. That is precisely the reason why for months on end, I kept yelling, saying, Democrats, bring up the JCPOA. Talk about Barack Obama's pivotal accomplishment. Talk about the importance of diplomacy. Don't give any fucking credence to the Republicans for why we must wage war with Iran. Talk about the weird relationship between Donald Trump and Israel and how much Israel has goaded the Trump administration into taking action that they should not have taken. Oh, I said it over and over again. Of course, nobody fucking listens to me. So now in this moment, the Trump administration, that are better room readers than the Democrats are overall, will turn around and take advantage of this opportunity and say, oh, it's Israel. It's Israel's fault. Don't look at us. We didn't do anything. Israel did this. Israel should shut the fuck up. And of course, because there's so much appetite, and that's why I'm saying I'm conflicted on this issue as well. There's so much appetite to finally say fuck Israel from the masses that we will celebrate this moment. And it's tough not to celebrate this moment because there is no alternative on the Democratic side that has said this, with the exception of Ro Khanna every now and then. What Democrat has come out and said this exact statement about Israel that J.D. Vance is about to deliver right here?
Thank you, sir. Jordan Conradson with the Gateway Pundit. I want to talk back to the Lebanon component of the deal.
I gotta pee.
There's a report in Axios that Netanyahu's fuming over this. Israel doesn't feel bound to the MOU as it relates to Lebanon. If, as you mentioned, your frustration with Israel striking in Beirut, hitting apartment buildings, if that continues, could it torpedo the deal? And what would the U.S.'s response be to a broader war in Lebanon involving Israel and Hezbollah?
Yeah, well, I don't want to get into hypotheticals that could torpedo the deal, because I think the president's expectation is that all of our friends, the Israelis, the Arabs in the region, we're going to work together and actually see this deal to completion. Now, I saw the Axios report, that Netanyahu is fuming. That's not reflective of the conversations that I've had with him, but maybe he's saying something to somebody else that he's not saying to me. What I will say, and this does bother me, is that you have seen people within Bibi's cabinet who have come out and attacked the deal, and in some ways very personally attacked the President of the United States. And I guess my message to them would be twofold. Number one, Donald J. Trump is the only head of state in the entire world who is sympathetic to the nation of Israel at this moment in time. And he happens to be the head of state of the world's superpower. If I was in the cabinet of the Israeli government, I might not be attacking the only powerful ally that I have anywhere left in the entire world. And the second message I would give to some of those cabinet members, Bibi, to his credit, has not gone down this path, but to some of these cabinet members in Israel who are attacking the President of the United States, the other thing that I would say is that over the last 3 months, 2/3 of the defensive weapons that have protected your homeland have been built by American hands and paid for by American tax dollars.
Yes, it's true. I've never fucking heard Kamala Harris say that. I've never heard Joe Biden say that. And I've never heard a prominent Democrat say these words. Imagine a world where Democrats were saying these true things, even from a sinister, cynical, and totally partisan framework. Pulling a have you said thank you, Israel, to Israel? Something that I ironically said when he was doing that to fucking Zelensky. I was like, he should be doing this to Israel. Well, now he is.
The problem for Israel is not Donald J. Trump. And anybody in Israel who thinks their biggest problem is the President of the United States needs to wake up and smell the reality of the situation that country is in. Thank you all.
We're saying these true, objectively true statements for the last couple of years. Instead of, for the last couple of years, especially after Israel goaded this dipshit admin into waging war with Iran that we lost, while propping up the JCPOA. Imagine how much more credibility the Dems would have at this moment. Instead, they offered silly process criticisms, yelled at their left flank, who yelled at their left flank, or yelled at their left flank. And now MAGA will get to abdicate responsibility for its fuck ups, while the Dems shit on the MOU. Imagine if prominent Democrats were saying these objectively true statements for the last couple of years, especially after Israel goaded this dipshit admin into waging war with Iran that we lost, while propping up the JCPOA. Imagine how much more credibility Dems would have at this moment. Instead, they offered silly process criticisms, legitimized the reasons for waging war, while legitimizing the reasons for waging war, yelled at their anti-Zionist left flank, and now MAGA will get to abdicate responsibility for its fuck-ups, while the Dems and dump it on Israel, while the Dems shit on the MOU. The false rationale for waging war. Fox News is shitting on you again for your Breakfast Club interview. Fox News hasn't gotten the memo yet that Donald Trump is about to say the same shit about Israel that I've been saying. Okay? Trump is like a couple weeks out from saying Israel has no right to defend itself. Israel has no right to exist as an apartheid state. Instead, they offered silly process criticisms while legitimizing the false rationale for waging war, yelled at their anti-Zionist left flank, actively tried to deplatform their anti-Zionist left flank. You can't hate Elon if you pay for X. You have to be a real fucking baboon if you think I've paid a single dime to Elon Musk, you fucking idiot. I'm a power user on Twitter and I have 1,000,007 followers. Elon Musk gave me that blue check mark for free so that all these other dumbasses buy it because they think it's actually still a legitimate thing and not just like something that porn bots and cryptocurrency hucksters purchase. Instead, they offered silly process criticisms while legitimizing the false rationale for waging war, actively tried to deplatform their anti-Zionist left flank, and now MAGA will get to abdicate responsibility for its fuck-ups and dump it on Israel while the Dems shit on the MOU. Yeah. I choose my words very carefully in moments like that. When nothing I said on The Breakfast Club is even remotely objectionable. It is actually objectively true. And it's ironically enough, something that the majority believes, which is precisely the reason why when Fox News is fucking chirping about it and Fox News is trying to present it as some sort of like super radical perspective, super radical framework, what they don't realize is they're showing me to a broader audience that most likely will agree with what I have to say, especially in a moment like this when Donald Trump is also shitting on Israel. AIPAC, by the way, is of course up to its own fucking tricks. New poll, 71% of Israelis don't trust Trump. Nice. New N12 news poll on Trump after the MOU with Iran. 71% of Israelis do not trust Trump to preserve Israel's interest in a final deal with Iran. Just 13% still believe Trump. Great. People wildly overestimate how smart Israelis are. They arrogantly thought they were 4D chess masters by dumping the last Zionist true believers, Biden-Harris, for the more gullible Trump, assuming MAGA yokels could always be led by the nose and would never bite them. Yeah, these guys are much more vicious, okay? What they don't realize is like Kamala Harris and Joe Biden were ideologically Zionists, okay? They were zealots. Trump looks like an ultra-Zionist from a mile away because of all the things that he's done for Israel. But at the end of the day, he's a selfish fucking asshole. And that selfishness can actually turn on Israel. He has dumped every fucking ally. He has dumped every single person around him under the bus in a moment's notice when things are turning on him. He is a purely transactional narcissist. Yeah. Iran reportedly suspends his trip to Geneva because of Israel's actions. Now, remember, this is still in the works. I've said this already. They can sign an MOU and then things can still change. Now is the real moment for Trump to show exactly how much he wants to maintain credibility while everyone in the media is going to be yelling at him. Because if you remember, I would go so far as to say the most powerful bipartisan force in legacy media and in Washington D.C. is not just the pro-Israel lobby. It's the defense contractors. It's the military-industrial complex. And the example I will point to you is the bipartisan barrage of hatred that Joe Biden received for pulling out of Afghanistan. That was objectively the right thing to do, and I defended it. I defended it endlessly, and I still defend it to this day. It was the right thing to do. Everything else we did after pulling out of Afghanistan was disgusting, monstrous, freezing their assets, refusing to let them have it, all this stuff. But there was bipartisan enmity towards Joe Biden for doing the right thing, doing the courageous thing, objectively the courageous thing to do. And his legacy would probably be a lot nicer, a lot kinder, if he hadn't then followed through on Israel's genocide, bear-hugging Benjamin Netanyahu, becoming Genocide Joe. Right? Now Donald Trump is going to be receiving that same bipartisan enmity. He has been receiving it. And Donald Trump is very responsive. Trump is very responsive to these kinds of attacks. He hates it. But he also has built up a much better resilience to this kind of bipartisan attack than anybody else, because he's been, basically the key man who has changed American politics single-handedly for the past decade. This is Trump's universe that we're living in. So I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen here. But here is J.D. Vance again.
But yeah, you've seen people in their system, Ben-Gvir and Smotrich, who've attacked the deal. And I guess my response to them would be, what is your exact proposal? And, you're a country of 9 million people. You can't just kill your way out of solving every single national security problem.
I'm so jealous, dude. I'm so angry. I'm so jealous. I have so much envy, dude. I am Sid Rosenberg color with envy. Why do they get to say this? Why? Why is it that only they say this? These are the same people who are actively trying to fucking prosecute me for saying this. And now they turn around and they say it themselves. And now everyone will go, yeah, that makes sense. I hate this. How is it any different than the Biden administration, though? They also told Israel no on attacking Iran, gave them total leeway in Gaza, and did that they need to listen to us more. And Ben Gvir is the problem stuff that JD is doing now. Even the statement about they can't do everything with forces of Blinken line. Did we just memory hole all this? Yeah, the major difference is the fucking MOU. Biden never in a million years followed through on something as comprehensive and as restrictive to Israel's ultimate desires of destroying Iran as the memorandum of understanding that Donald Trump signed at Versailles last night. Nothing comes close. So yes, when these guys are saying it in the aftermath of the MOU to defend that decision, that is far more impactful than Joe Biden's 700 million red lines. Because if you recall, pre-MOU, they would say things like this every now and then. Oh, Joe Biden, or sorry, not Joe Biden. Donald Trump is really mad. Donald Trump is having a come to Jesus moment. Donald Trump is fucking telling Benjamin Netanyahu, he's using the F word. He's saying fuck, right? He's saying fuck. He's really upset, right? What was I saying back then? This is bullshit. Until the ink is dry on some kind of deal, until the naval assets are retreating from the region, none of these words mean anything. And now these words mean everything. Do you understand? That's the biggest difference. Saying these things right now in the aftermath of signing a memorandum of understanding that genuinely reshapes our foreign policy, puts the United States of America back in the driver's seat of our men of policy, which, by the way, I don't even think is going to be decent in the long run, but takes it away from Israel, is unbelievably impactful.
Ever more unpopular. And I know from speaking to many of my Jewish friends around the world, whether it be London, New York, LA, or further afield, they're all very concerned about this. So this idea that Netanyahu represents what most Jewish people think, for example, I think is for the birds.
I'm not aware of a single Nazi official who was as openly bloodthirsty as Ben Gvir, including Goebbels, who was a nutcase, in my opinion. And, they, of course, were all executed. The ones who survived the war were executed at Nuremberg. We don't actually have visibility into what's happened in Gaza because they've murdered so many journalists and no one's allowed in to see it. But we know over 100,000 people have been killed, most of them non-combatants, tens of thousands of women and children.
This is ironically the same gripe that I've always had with allowing Tucker Carlson to occupy this space as like one of the key figures of the anti-Israel movement, right? If the Democratic Party was universally in opposition to our allegiance to the state of Israel, right now, most people will be looking at J.D. Vance and going, oh, you're just repeating what the Democrats are saying, right? The average person would look at this and go, wow, you're just repeating what Chuck Schumer has said a million times over. Now, obviously, this is laughable. I'm just using Chuck Schumer as a joke because obviously he is a joke and he's an insane dick rider of Israel, an ultra-Zionist. But like in a world where we have a competent opposition party that was already there, in a world where we already had a competent opposition party, a competent opposition media framework, where the entire movement was in the hands of a responsive opposition party that represented anti-Zionism openly, when these guys come out and fucking finally say the truth, people will be like, we've heard it before. We've heard it from the Democrats. Do you understand? But what did the Democrats do for the last 3 months? What did so many key, prominent Democrats, including senators, including congresspersons, do? What did they do? They yelled at me. And at the time, I said over and over again, what the fuck are you guys doing? How am I the story? They're waging war in Iran and we're losing that war. Talk about that. Talk about Israel's involvement in this. Talk about Israel's level of unprecedented influence in this administration that finally goaded the Trump administration to do the unthinkable. They kept calling me a radical and a terrorist and an anti-Semite for it. Democrats were doing that. They were too invested in that. They were too invested in stopping the socialist momentum that has grassroots mobilization, that has all the support in this fucking country right now. It's unbelievable. I feel like I am forced to relitigate the same failures of 2016 and the same failures of 2024 for the rest of my fucking life. Forever. Forever and ever. Stop yapping. It's the hype train. Time to carry the flame. Oh, shit. All right, ladies and gentlemen, the People's Broadcasting Service, the Piker Broadcasting Service for tomorrow's news today is experiencing a hype train. If you'd like to support independent media, please subscribe for $6 or for free with a Twitch Prime or gift subs. And at level 10 hype train, we will carry the flame. Here's one of those Democrats that I'm talking about. Okay, here's one of those Democrats that I'm talking about, Josh Gottheimer. My statement on the agreement between the United States and the Islamic Republic of Iran. I am totally dumbfounded by this agreement and, like many, in a state of disbelief. After spending his presidency crowing about America's strength and leadership in the world, Donald Trump signed a document that screams weakness and desperation. Let me be clear. The Iranian regime is a brutal, tyrannical regime and a sworn enemy of the American people. Under the banner Death to America, they are the world's leading state sponsor of terror and have American blood on their hands. The Iranian regime deserves to be crushed for its decades of relentless terror against us, our allies, and the repressive rule of the Iranian people, resulting in the brutal massacres and executions of its own people for seeking freedom. Yet we got nothing. Not one core objective was meaningfully met. No agreement on nuclear weapons, no agreement on ballistic missiles, no agreement on drones, no agreement on funding of terror proxies. We've seen this movie before in Ukraine and in Gaza, where we're told a better deal is coming in the next stage, but it never materializes. In a rush to claim a win, we seem to be selling out Israel, our key democratic ally in the fight against terror, along with our Gulf partners who have faced relentless Iranian missile and drone attacks. The Gulf partners wanted this. Israel didn't, you fucking stooge. Again, Josh Gottheimer is a dog to Israel, okay? We are forced to stop the hemorrhaging. I fuck with your tie heavy? Yeah. Say, this servile stooge to Israel spent the last 3 months crying about me. And now when we are forced to stop the hemorrhaging, he comes out with this AIPAC press release. Put Americans above the interests of Israel for once in your life. Disgusting. Throughout this war, there's been zero transparency in the Congress of the American public. So in this instance, for the sake of our country, I actually hope there are some hidden favorable terms the administration is hiding in their pocket. As it stands, I won't be able to support this agreement when ultimately it comes before Congress, which it must. Yeah. Where were the fucking demands to restrain American militarism when the American military was behaving like a mercenary brand for the Israeli state? Where was Josh Gottheimer then? To make matters worse, by every measure, this agreement is an abject failure, full of sanctions relief, and is akin to, or potentially worse than, the flawed JCPOA under President Obama. He's literally shitting on the JCPOA here. Josh Gottheimer is shitting on the JCPOA. A fucking animal, this guy is. All right, I'll play the Israeli version of We Are Charlie Kirk if we actually fucking hit the hype train, okay? We're at level 5 and only 1 minute remaining for a very special day. If we hit level 10 hype train, I will play the Israeli We Are Charlie Kirk. Gift subscriptions now. Barack. Thank you for the 5 gifted subs. The Israelis yearn for Biden. Biden save us. It's awesome. There's also, I saw this. There's also the Phoenix emoji. Anonymous gifter, thank you for the 10. Hassas fake glass, thank you for the 5. Puka Numa. Cleo, thank you for the 10. Oh my God, people are going fucking crazy for the We Are Charlie Kirk Hebrew remix. The original version, some might say. God damn. God damn, son. Level 7 hype train. The other one is the Israelis are chanting Markbar Amerika. Instead of saying, they're saying death to America, dude. The Israelis are chanting, yeah, we will join the Iranians' chant of death to America. Welcome to the third world, Israel. Israel joins the many developing nations of the world, the nations of the periphery, in chanting death to America. Oh, my Lord. Level 8 hype train, ladies and gentlemen. Level 8 hype train. Support public, support independent media. Support the Pikers Broadcasting Service, the People's Broadcasting Service for tomorrow's news today to get all your greatest and latest needs in commentary. Buried in a Times article about Israel's reaction to the deal is an Israeli government minister admitting they brought the U.S. into the war. Amichai Chikli, the diaspora affairs minister, speculated in a radio interview that Mr. Netanyahu would know how to say no to Mr. Trump about pulling out of Lebanon, just as he knew how to bring the United States into this war. So, I mean, we're at level 9 hype train. We're only one level away from We Are Charlie Kirk, Israeli patriotic song. More cope. We'll look at more tears and more cope from the Yeshiva frat leader says the entire pro-Israel political class threw their capital into replacing the best presidential ally they could ask for with the most bribable man alive, and none of them foresaw this backfiring. Yep. Now, this is far too, I mean, we are celebrating this far too soon, in my opinion, because it's not done yet. And I need to urge caution here. Okay? I need to urge caution here, but what I will not caution you is reaching level 10 in the hype train, which we are almost about to reach at level 9 hype train at 94%. But I will urge caution that this deal has not been finalized yet, okay? So remember, Israel will try to fuck this up. Israel will try to fuck this deal up every single day until the deal is done, until the ceasefire negotiations are implemented, and even every single day after that. Biden said the same things JD and Trump did in December. Biden warns Israel is losing support over his war. No, this isn't. Again, this is meaningless because it doesn't come with a memorandum of understanding against Iran, which is Israel's #1 op. And at that point, we are at level 10 hype train, ladies and gentlemen. Let's get it started. Here it is. We are Charlie Kirk. I'm a little worried that this is going to be weird. I looked at it briefly, and it seems sincere. What the fuck? This is... Bro, this is literally the one time Charlie Kirk doesn't look like Charlie Kirk. How is that possible? How is it possible that every piece of AI that has been generated about Charlie Kirk, or not even about Charlie Kirk, looks like Charlie Kirk? And this is the one time where he doesn't look like himself. How is that possible? All right. This doesn't look like him either. Oh, I've heard this song before. I've heard the Hebrew. Okay, none of the Charlie Kirks look like Charlie Kirk. What the fuck is going on? Why are none of the Charlie Kirks looking like Charlie Kirk? This is the one time where the AI Kirkification is fucked up. Did you see they removed the gospel line? Yeah, I think this is like, I don't think this was made by haters. I think this was made sincerely. At first I thought this is like anti-Semitic, but I think this might not be. Yeah, no, this is a sincerely made version. Oh my God. That's why they deleted the gospel line. Oh my God. We are Charlie Kirk. We fight in formation. Oh my God. Oh my God. Oh my God. This is not a person. The person who made this, I checked their fucking page because I was like, this might be like anti-Semitic. It's the person who made this is sincerely making this. Marching through Iran, Israeli patriotic song. I'm joining the IDF. Bibi Netanyahu. The Lion. This is a literal Bibist who made this fucking thing sincerely. Oh my God, it's incredible. Not Charlie Kirk at all anymore. Why does Bibi have facial hair? Why does this look like Charlie is forgiving Benjamin Netanyahu for assassinating him? Oh my God. I need to dissect the person who made this in their brain. I need to understand what their normal thought process looks like. Awesome. The klezmer clarinet threw me off at first, but I think I'm coming around to it not being anti-Semitic. No, it is anti-Semitic because it was made by an Israeli, and everything Israelis make is automatically anti-Semitic. But it's not anti-Semitic in the way where you're like, oh, is this a fucking like neo-Nazi, like a Christian neo-Nazi who's like trying to fucking shit on Jews? Like, no, it's like this is sincerely a fucking Likudnik, or maybe even like a Otzma Yehudit fan who made this. Yeah, this is stylistically exactly how Israeli music is made. Is 100% an Israeli. Yes. That's why I checked to see if this was like a... I checked to see if this was like actually someone who was like, oh, look at how fucking stupid the Jews are or whatever. No, it turns out it's like unironically an Israeli who made this because these are all the other things that they've made. And it's awesome. It's incredible. I mean, this was sincerely made. I am from Israel and this is my art. Okay, that's what this is. Hello, I am from Israel and this is my art. Yes, this is some deep Israeli lore shit. You don't make this if you're just run-of-the-mill neo-Nazi. Yeah, no, this is like sincerely someone who is probably currently living in Israel who made this. Oh my fucking God, their ad is Filipino Zionist femboy. Anyway, yeah, we did that. We carried the flame. Maybe we'll carry it again. Maybe this will be a day where we double carry the flame, but that was incredible. Anyway, I'm so fucking mad at Josh Gottheimer. Yeah, Derek Davison says, Vance is an amoeba. He will ooze himself into whatever shape he thinks will best advance his career, which is his only core principle. If Democrats let him own this land going into 2028, they are even dumber than I thought they were. And I'll be honest with you, I think Democrats are that dumb. Like, I can see them doing that.
Is that you have seen people within Bibi's cabinet who have come out and attacked the deal, and in some ways very personally attacked the President of the United States. And I guess my message to them would be twofold. Number one, Donald J. Trump is the only head of state in the entire world who is sympathetic to the nation of Israel at this moment in time. And he happens to be the head of state of the world's superpower. If I was in the cabinet of the Israeli government, I might not be attacking the only powerful ally that I have.
Why are the tides turning so quickly? Wow, Clinton, it was a constant push. Netanyahu, Barack would basically say, you need to support us in attacking Iran. You're saying you were being played by Israel all the time, by an ally that receives an enormous amount of aid? Of course. Oh, wow, I can't believe it. Hillary Rodham Clinton came out on 92nd Street Y and fucking said the truth about what Israel has been doing. Let's hear what Hillary Clinton was saying like last month about our allegiance to Israel. Oh, that's right. She was shitting on the anti-Zionist youth for not knowing the truth about Israel and how wonderful of an ally Israel is. This is exactly the type of shit that I'm talking about when I say you have to be consistent. People are not stupid, okay? The average person, no matter how dumb we may perceive them to be, is not so dumb that they can't sense hypocrisy, okay? That's the fucking problem. That's the problem. That's why I keep saying Democrats should have been on this tip from the jump. It absolutely is worthwhile to establish credibility before the tide turns. Okay? This is why having moral conviction on these issues matter. This is why having moral conviction on these issues matter. This is why I always stress the importance. So whenever people come out and they're like, Daria Lisa was at the October 8th, 2023 anti-Israel protest. Yeah, of course she was. Because she's been fucking aware of what Israel's been doing for decades. Because October 7th didn't just happen overnight for no reason. Israel has been an occupier in an apartheid state that was ethnically cleansing, slowly but surely, the Palestinian population for 75 years at that point. What the fuck kind of take is this where we're just like, oh yeah, we have to punish these people for being right. Like, oh, they were accidentally, or not even accidentally, but they were prematurely anti-fascist? Really? It's important to have real fighters that have real moral conviction and have the courage to say the truth in inopportune moments. The NatSec people have been saying stuff like that for years. They love Israel for what it does for the U.S., but Israel also annoys the hell out of them. Going back to Reagan, we have a million stories about that. The problem is that they complain but don't stop sending bombs to Israel. Clinton did, Obama did, Biden did, Trump did. I agree. I know. That's what I'm talking about, though. You're misunderstanding my point. My point is you have to be consistent, okay? And you have to sometimes make bold decisions. Biden never did. That's why his red lines looked ridiculous. This right now with Donald Trump, this is a unique moment because if there's follow through on this MOU, if Israel is if Israel is forcibly restrained, if ties are cut off with Israel in a meaningful capacity because of Israel's, inevitable spoiler in this MOU, because they will play that role. They are going to fucking continue bombing Lebanon. They might even bomb Iran. Who knows, right? At that point, if Trump actually fucking restrains Israel, then it's real. Do I have confidence that he will? I do not. I do not have confidence that Trump will restrain Israel. I need you to understand this. But the reason why I'm criticizing the Democrats here is because of that prediction. The prediction that I have that Israel will fuck this up. And when that happens, Democrats should not be saying, oh, thank God the fucking memorandum of understanding has fallen apart and now Trump is failing to pick up the pieces. They should be saying, we got to cut this shit out. They should be saying the MOU is good. We shouldn't have waged war from the start. They should have been there already. Yes, I glazed Biden after the Afghan withdrawal, and I'm glazing Trump after he signed the MOU because I care about the actual impact. I care about the actual policies. I don't give a shit about partisanship. If Donald Trump tomorrow came out and was like, we're doing Medicare for all, which would never happen, but like in a totally ridiculous hypothetical, if Donald Trump came out and was like, I'm doing Trump care. Fuck Obamacare, I'm doing Trump care. It's Medicare for all. No more private healthcare in this country. You think I wouldn't fucking eat his dick and balls? Of course I would. I'd be like, this is the most amazing achievement. I don't give a shit that it's Trump doing it. I would be fucking honest about it.
And pussy too.
You were right about sniffing hypocrisy. Even this dumbass did. Trump's new Israel stance, such bullshit. They're blowing up whole apartment buildings. Unlike your entire presidency, when you were seeing kids pulled out of the rubble, you just now noticed, sure, Trump's new stance is a midterm stance, nothing more. I know. Even the stupids are up in arms. Good. Ryan Grimm responded to your tweet about the Dems. Netanyahu deliberately cost Democrats a presidential election and still they wouldn't say 10% of this stuff. Yes. Maybe I'm misunderstanding, but why is it different for Trump to do this MOU than it was for what Hillary was talking about? That is restraining Israel from attacking Iran in the first place. They wanted to every single day of the Biden and Obama admins, but never did. The only difference is Trump let them do it in the first place, still saying the MOU is great news. Because this memorandum of understanding is the most comprehensive ceasefire and long-standing commitment to peace that greatly reroutes and restructures the entire region away from the interests of Israel. Because Israel's primary interest under the Obama administration, when Clinton was the Secretary of State, and certainly under the Biden administration, and certainly under Trump 1, and even far before then, Israel's primary goal always was to destroy Iran. The reason why Israel always wanted to destroy Iran was because Iran was the only sovereign nation in the region that would actually restrain Israel by its proxy militias that it propped up and offered logistical support to and offered, training support to. The proxy militias such as Hezbollah in Lebanon, the Shia militias in Iraq, and also in Syria as well. The Hezbollah was also operating inside of Syrian borders as well. The Ansar Allah movement in Yemen. And this always presented a real threat in Hamas and the Palestinian Islamic Jihad, but mostly Hamas in Gaza. This always presented some kind of military deterrence, a threat to Israel's ambitions of territorial expansion. Israel wanted to destroy this threat. And in an effort to destroy this, Israel goaded America over and over and over again for decades to go and wage war with Iran, right? They always wanted to do this. So if that's the primary goal of Israel here, this memorandum of understanding completely rewrites that. This memorandum of understanding says, we're done. We're washing our hands of this entire endeavor. We're leaving this in the hands of the Gulf nations to deal with Iran as an even partner. We are going to normalize relations with Iran. Now, I'm not saying this memorandum of understanding is going to go through, but this deal is perhaps the most comprehensive fuck you to Israel, and it's not even about Lebanon. A lot of the Israelis are really frustrated about the Lebanese part of this equation. Oh, Israel can't attack Lebanon. It's an Iranian proxy, but we can't fucking... You're treating us like an American proxy, and you're telling us we have to restrain ourselves. They're stupid. The real anger here from Israeli leadership is not coming because Israel is for the first time ever being forcibly restrained in Lebanon. They've been restrained in Lebanon before. Ronald Reagan did it, for example, right? George H.W. Bush did it. Numerous other American presidents have told Israel, cut it out. Joe Biden did it in 2021. The reason why Israel is freaking the fuck out over this, even though to the onlookers it seems like they're frustrated because they're so entitled and they've realized, oh my God, like we can't fucking get away with blowing up Lebanon anymore, but I'll die. You literally want the Holocaust to happen if I can't kill Lebanese children. Like that's not the point. That's what it sounds like to the average person. But the real point here is that this rewrites This writes Israel out of the driver's seat in our MENA policy, and it actually normalized relations with the only sovereign country in that region that has the military capabilities and the interest in restraining Israel. This is the biggest fuck you to Israel that I have ever seen from any American presidency if this memorandum of understanding actually is followed through on. That's what's huge about this. And that's precisely the reason why there is a massive panic amongst AIPAC and amongst the Zionist lobby and the Israeli thinkers that are losing their minds over it. Because I do believe that they got caught a little bit off guard here. Maybe I'm being a little too hopeful, but my point obviously is that they will still try to fuck this deal up regardless. But that's why it's so much more consequential than anything that Hillary Rodham Clinton has ever said, anything that even the Obama administration did. Because prior to this MOU, prior to this memorandum of understanding, the biggest fuck you to Israel was the JCPOA. This memorandum of understanding literally changes the dynamic entirely. The JCPOA gave a fuck ton of assurances to Israel. That's when we did our MOU with Israel, the 10-year-long, $3.8 billion a year deal for the Israeli defense systems, where we were just, giving them money to purchase the Tamir interceptors. That came as a cost for the Obama administration. Israel was so unbelievably mad about the Obama administration maintaining its own sovereign interests in the way that they were negotiating with Israel's number one enemy in the region, that we had to bribe them. We had to give them $40 billion fucking dollars this last goddamn decade in exchange for Israel allowing us to engage in a denuclearization agreement with Iran. Trump is undoubtedly doing a good thing by ending the war, and we should give credit for that, but I just don't see how this is such a break from protocol. I don't know how else to explain it, man. There's definitely a difference on sanctions, good, but on restraining Israel, they are the same policy. No, I don't know why you don't see this. We can give Israel all the fucking weapons in the world going forward. Iran was able to fight militarily and restrain the United States of America going forward. If Iran draws a red line, that is going to have more consequences. It's completely like I keep repeating over and over again. The entire purpose of restraining Israel is to regain American sovereignty in American foreign policy in this region. Okay? The whole point of this memorandum of understanding is that it dramatically shifts our MENA policy away from Israel back into the hands of the American State Department, which, by the way, again, probably also indecent. Make no fucking mistake. AIPAC sent out a memo. It's awesome. The MOU opens the possibility that Iran will be left with a significant nuclear capability. The agreement includes no provisions to address Iran's support for terrorism or its missile or drone program. It's great. CNN has obtained a new book by Maggie Haberman and Jonathan Swan, reveals how Trump compared himself to Mao, Stalin, Attila the Hun, and how a top aide found him with superglue trying to decorate the Oval Office. Just wait. You'll see. We'll see. I suspect we'll see in the upcoming days rare Epstein files that we didn't even know existed. Okay. Yeah, it's not shocking to me that he's compared himself to, these people. He can't hold a candle to Stalin nor Mao. Maybe Adolf Hitler makes sense. Iran will learn lessons and build a modern air force once the sanctions are lifted. The next time we are forced to embark on an existential war against it, a completely different Iran will await us, the source added. Our air superiority will no longer be taken for granted. Trump, who was supposed to be the messiah of Israel's security, has become the man who has abandoned us. Building an air force from a politically compromised Western supply chains would be a huge mistake that Iran seems aware not to make. The Pakistani experience shows that it's possible now to build a potent air force that at much lower cost through China. Also, let's go back to Danny Citrinowicz, Middle East national security expert, one of the only Atlantic Council non-resident fellows that has actively been off the let's go to war with Iran train since the start, basically. Since it was apparent that America was losing this war by like week 1. Danny Citrinowicz, to give him credit, has been actively trying to find new avenues, new exit ramps. So let's hear what he had to say. AIPAC's response, along with statements from Senator Lindsey Graham and others, underscores the central challenge Israel faces regarding a potential nuclear agreement with Iran. No one is going to outflank President Trump from the right on this issue. Whatever Trump ultimately decides will define U.S. Policy, and Israel cannot realistically hope for a future president in the White House who will reverse that decision. If Trump himself reaches the strategic conclusion that the Iranian regime is not going anywhere and that a negotiated arrangement is preferable to continued confrontation, the debate is effectively over. It is highly unlikely that a future president would take a significantly tougher approach. The campaign has already exposed numerous... I don't think so, by the way. I think a Democrat... I can see a fucking ultra-Zionist Democrat trying to an AIPAC-backed ultra-Zionist Democrat doing this shit. Straight up. I can see it. God, I've lost all hope in American politics. It's so hard for me to fucking look at what's going on with the Democratic Party so far and the way that they're moving around this issue and the way, like, it's going to be like President Josh Gottheimer, President Josh Shapiro, who's like, we have to do a nuclear first strike policy against Iran. Oh my God. Yeah, 2028 primary will have 3 AIPAC candidates. Anyway, yeah, we're going to have Josh Gottheimer going up against Josh Shapiro, going up against Cory Booker. And they're going to be fucking on that stage fighting each other over the microphone to be like, I'm the one who will do a nuclear first strike. I promise. I'm Israel High. John Fetterman on the sidelines like, America needs another stupid president. Joe Biden was so good. We need an even dumber president that will love Israel more than him. I will stand up and say, hubba-ba-da-ba-da, just like Biden did. This campaign has already exposed numerous shortcomings and potential negative consequences, including the possibility of strengthening the Iranian regime and further entrenching Iran's regional influence through proxies such as Hezbollah in Lebanon. Yet these concerns may be overshadowed by a larger strategic reality for current and future Israeli governments. The likelihood of undertaking a similar military effort against Iran without strong American backing becomes dramatically lower. For Israel, which depends on the United States across a wide range of military, diplomatic, and economic domains, this would represent a major strategic setback. While Israeli leaders often emphasize their ability to act independently against Iran, cope, the reality is that containing or significantly degrading Iran's capabilities without meaningful American support is, for all practical purposes, close to impossible. Pro-Israel groups deliberately turned Israel into a polarized issue and alienated almost a whole Democratic Party for the sake of a war that turned out to be as disastrous as Obama warned them and is going to end up with a deal far worse for them than JCPOA was. I don't care about what Egg Boy is saying. Egg Boy seemingly is a windsock. Okay? That's all he is. He bloviates. He's empty. He's hollow. He has no worldview of his own. He's just a fucking empty windsock. He blows away with the wind. In a world full of windsocks, be a poop sock. In a world full of windsocks, be a cum sock. Yeah. French President Emmanuel Macron pulls off what could be the greatest diplomatic troll of all time by getting Trump to sign the $300 billion U.S. surrender to Iran deal in Versailles. The ignoramus Trump will have been clueless as to the historical significance of the location. Yeah, it's really funny. I know for a fucking fact this dumbass has no idea what the Versailles Treaty is. And like what its historic significance is, like what this location's historic significance is. And he was like, it's a beautiful palace. I'm signing it in a beautiful palace. What do you want from me? All the Europeans, they love me for doing this. Look at Macron's face. He's fucking smiling ear to ear. It's so funny. Cood said the scrap election ads highlighting Netanyahu-Trump ties in wake of Iran deal. Oh my God, it's so funny. He's surprised he got in bed with a snake and then the snake bit him. Maybe don't push the snake into a war that the snake loses. You know what's funny about this Neera Tanden take? Trump is the snake that poor naive Netanyahu shouldn't have trusted in this scenario. And it's like, Neera, why are you taking the side of one fascist over the other in this circumstance? Like because the hidden implication here is this. What Neera Tanden is saying here is this. Hey, Benjamin Netanyahu, if you stayed with Joe Biden and the Democrats, we would have probably played much better ball with you. Okay? This is such a funny revelation. And given that it was tweeted at 9:20 p.m. our time, which means it was tweeted at 12 midnight, she was probably on box wine and bars while she tweeted this and didn't realize what she was actually saying, which is basically telling Benjamin Netanyahu, I told you so. You should have stayed with the Democrats. We would have let you do genocide without any sort of fucking pushback. Now you got your guy, Donald Trump, and he won't let you do the genocides that you want to do. Epstein guy Howard Nutlick is also displeased. Howard Nutlick appears to shake his head in disappointment as Trump said Israel had little to complain about. Think of what Israel's getting. They're not going to be nuked.
They're not going to be nuked. It's very simple. I told Bibi, the biggest risk was that they'd drop a...
Dude, he always smiles from ear to ear. It's so strange that this is the one time he's not smiling behind him. Yeah. Huh. Interesting. How strange. How odd. It's just, how odd, you know?
Nuclear weapon into the middle of Israel. They'd only need one, and there would be no more Israel. Think of it, baby. You got the best, the most important thing.
Think of it, baby. I'm going to be honest, dude. What a spectacular moment of vindication so far. I mean, virtually every fucking analyst, every high-paid analyst in the blob first agitated to make this war happen, then refused to reckon that it was lost, then kept egging Trump on to continue. And finally, the memorandum of understanding shows what we've all known here at the Hasanabi broadcast, that we were right, that America should have never gone into this war, that Iran militarily defeated the United States of America by not directly defeating American forces, but instead by punishing America as the primary responsible party that is supposed to have this protectorate over the global markets by striking at these different profit centers, these forces of capital. They were able to make America bleed and force them to with their newfound leverage, forced America to the negotiation table and make them hold this fucking fat L. And now Trump is talking like a Hasanabi head, saying Iran is a sovereign nation. Of course they're going to have ballistic munitions. Of course they're going to have ballistic missiles. Every sovereign nation does. Of course they're going to have, some nuclear production. Every country has that. Of course Israel has to stop. They've gotten completely out of control. This is funny. Lindsey Graham and Mike Walls having a conversation. I love Israel more. No, I love Israel more. No, I love Israel more. Israel. Israel is my heart and soul. Israeli officials believe President Trump could potentially delay weapon shipments or impose an arms embargo on Israel in the future if Netanyahu won't withdraw forces from Lebanon. Democrats getting beaten out of an Israeli arms embargo would be hilarious. You gave Donald Trump the keys to the castle, by the way. This is my take for the Republicans as well. You gave Trump the keys of the castle, and he's making these decisions on his own, right? Unitary executive theory. And yeah, sometimes the Mad King might arrive at the correct position due to pure narcissism. That would be fucking amazing, by the way. That would be fucking hilarious. If Donald Trump was the guy that entertained an arms embargo on Israel because Netanyahu is just like not listening to what he's saying. Not saying that this is going to happen, by the way. I do want to point this out. I don't think this is going to happen. I still think Donald Trump is a dick eater for Israel. But I do want to think of a better world out there where Donald Trump, due to his petulant, narcissistic nature is so frustrated with Israel that he's just like, enough.
You and your colleagues just
Here, let's hear what Rokana is saying on this issue, by the way.
upend this president's agenda. Is that what's happening right now with this MOU with Iran?
No, I actually support the agreement and bringing the war to an end. I have always supported bringing the war to an end. I will say, though, that this agreement is not as good as what the JCPOA was. And let me just give you 3 factual reasons. First, under the JCPOA, 97% of the enriched uranium was removed from Iran. Under this agreement, it simply dilutes it. Second, the JCPOA had the Security Council resolution as a force of law with intrusive IAEA inspections. That still has not been achieved. And most problematically, we're going to be on the hook to raise $300 billion for Iran's economic development and reconstruction. Not U.S. taxpayer money, but raising that money. Why aren't we focused on the economic development and reconstruction of Middleton, Ohio, Johnstown, Pennsylvania, or putting $300 billion to be raised for childcare or health care for Americans?
Well, all very important points and good ones. Let me just say that President Trump has made the comment that at some point in the future, when things calm down, the U.S. will go back into Iran, get that
Maria Bartiromo
uranium, destroy that uranium, whether destroyed in Iran or in America or somewhere else. They are planning.
Isn't this better than the JCPOA? Yeah, better for Iran, not better for like American domination, if that's your attitude. Obviously, our attitude here at the Hasanabi broadcast is different. I think it was Norm Finkelstein who said something so brilliant about this, where he was just like, I'm not on any side. I'm not on the side of one state over the other. I'm on the side of justice, right? And this deal is just. It's the beginning phases of justice. So if you're on the side of justice, then of course you're not going to be on the side of America in this endeavor. You're not going to be on the side of Israel in this endeavor. You don't have to be on the side of Iran in this endeavor. You just have to be on the side of what is correct, what is moral to do, what is just to do. Right? Yeah, he said this, yeah.
I'm not. If America does wrong, I'm not going to be America first.
Yeah, he says, if America does wrong, I'm not going to be America first. In Vietnam, I didn't want the U.S. to win. I don't want the U.S. to win in Iran. I'm not America first. I'm justice first. If it were switched and the Palestinians were doing to the Israelis what the Israelis are doing to them, I'm not pro-Palestinian.
In the Vietnam War, I didn't want the U.S. to win the war. I did not. I don't want the U.S. to. Maybe the U.S. could win the war in Iran. I don't want them to win the war in Iran. So, I'm not America first. I'm justice first. If you're in the wrong, I'm not going to support you. And it's the same thing. If it were switched and the Palestinians were doing to Israelis what Israelis are doing to Palestinians, I'm not pro-Palestinian. Those categories are completely alien to my being. I couldn't even understand what they mean. Why would you want America first? You want justice first. So that's another part of this movement that's appropriated the Palestine issue that I find very troubling. I'm not part of that mindset. I'm not a nationalist. On any count, ethnic nationalist, American nationalist, those categories mean nothing to me.
So what's also interesting about this is that this deal is only like, obviously this is an L for America because of the hundreds of billions of dollars wasted, not on the $300 billion that is being fundraised for Iran. I mean, like the hundreds of billions of dollars in assets wasted, like munitions expended to kill Iranians. Like that part is a massive L. But the deal itself, the memorandum of understanding, technically doesn't harm Americans, right? It actually is good for Americans if we restrain ourselves a little bit going forward. That's why I always said, like, us receiving a bloody nose here is not necessarily a bad thing in the long term, especially if this causes the State Department and the American Defense Department to recalculate a strategy as the hegemon and maybe behave in a more restrained manner. All the better if we actually let Israel loose, if we just cut him off, right? That would be fucking amazing for America. So here's the thing. What is the actual L here other than American feelings being hurt? If you are if you're a regular American, you were already receiving the L with your gas prices. You were already receiving the L because all of your productive output was going to fucking waging Israel's war against Iran. This is not an L for you. This is a W for you. Great. Fucking awesome. No more war in Iran. Right? It's spectacular. Even better if we actually restrain Israel and totally change our Middle Eastern strategy. Now, the only reason why Americans are being taught by mainstream media that this is a fucking spectacular L for America is because we're used to dominating, right? We as Americans have internalized this idea that we are the world police through decades and decades of propaganda that we have to be the world police. We're the most moral force on the planet. All of our enemies are ontologically evil and we must punish them. We must dominate them militarily. And sometimes when we're dominating them militarily, we do heinous war crimes. But all that bad is still for an overarching good, right? That's the way that we've been conditioned. That is what we believe. And that is the reason why a lot of people are looking at this and going, oh my God, we took a fucking fat L here. But where is the L? Where is the actual L? The only reason why you would believe that we're taking an L here is if you're a hawk that works in the blob, that works in foreign policy, and we're demanding more military domination against Iran, no matter what the cost is to the rest of the energy markets, the rest of the world. Okay, that's it. That's it. And that's actually really important because even the removal of sanctions, not just the secondary sanctions, but the primary sanctions on Iran is good for American businesses. Iran is a massive market. Why the fuck shouldn't we do regular trade with them? Why do you care? Are you the nation state of Israel? Are you an ultra-Zionist who wants to take up more land from Lebanon and Syria and maybe Egypt and potentially go to war with Turkey? Or because it's bad for them. That's why they're freaking out. But if you're a regular-ass American living in Ohio, what the fuck do you care? As a matter of fact, this is good for you. Alireza says it does not cost the U.S. anything to allow Iran access to its own money and the ability to conduct trade with other countries just like every other nation on earth. The original reason given for putting sanctions on the oil sector and banking sector was to pressure Iran to engage in serious negotiations about its growing enrichment program, not to just uphold them until the day of judgment. They are supposed to be a temporary measure. It's not capitulation or loss for the U.S. to offer the removal of sanctions in return for the exact reasons they were put in place. Sammy says there's this bizarre tendency by some lefties on here right now to attack any analysis on the Iran deal, which describes its disastrous consequences for U.S. foreign policy as somehow being hawkish. I don't know that this app doesn't allow for body language with description does not mean endorsement. Any deal that ends the war with Iran is good, but the terms of these deals are shockingly piss poor. Why are they piss poor? Matthew Petty actually brings up a really good point. He says a lot of the supposed consequences are just taking for granted hawkish views, though, like the idea that sanctions relief is just giving away money that belongs to the United States by birthright. Sammy Gold says, I mean, when I say consequences, more so about what this does to U.S. power and national interest. However, what I should also note is that these are the inevitable consequences from the war we fought. It's not the peace that started it. But even by that measure, the deal isn't that bad for the U.S. None of the concessions really cost Americans much. Washington is just catastrophizing because they don't know how to deal with compromise when they were expecting surrender. Okay? That's the key point here. The people that are looking at this and going, oh my God, what a spectacular defeat this was, are used to a lifetime of domination. Okay? It's the same principle that holds for the age-old adage. For those accustomed to a lifetime of privilege, equality feels like oppression. And the American foreign policy apparatus and the American military industrial complex have been accustomed to a lifetime of privilege. Endless military domination overseas, constantly suppressing our enemies, constantly creating new enemies from nothing just to defeat them militarily, just to dominate them militarily, no matter what the human toll is in the process. Fuck them, they probably deserved it. Collateralizing real human lives. This is how empire dominates. And now we are forced to reckon with the fact that we are no longer the same empire that we once were. We no longer have the same power around the world. We no longer have the same force projection capabilities. But if you're an average American, why the fuck should you care about our force projection capabilities? Because the media, our education, our social conditioning have told us that as regular working class folk in the United States of America, when America dominates militarily overseas, that's good for us somehow. That makes us feel good. Why should it make us feel good? What makes me feel good is progress. What makes me feel good is better educational initiatives, better educational outcomes. What makes me feel good is when America dominates in the field of research. What makes me feel good is if we are actually moving in the direction of better outcomes for working class Americans. That is what we should be striving towards, not this conditioning that America is the almighty, all-powerful country when our petro-capitalist pedophiles are making profits hand over fist, when they're actually dominating the rest of the world so that they can turn profit over all of this death and destruction. It's bullshit. There is this expectation that all of this system is so that we can go out and dominate whatever fucking enemy we see fit. Okay? I say no more. That's a ridiculous mentality. That has never been helpful for you. All that is done for you is take away your productive output and spend it on this death machine, this war machine that is endless. It's taken all your tax dollars and funneled it back to the military-industrial complex where American hands are building the munitions that Israel is using to blow up schools. Those hands could be building the fucking schools here. Those dollars could be building the fucking schools here. Why? Why is it good? So that Raytheon has a better quarter? Does that help you? So that Lockheed Martin can come up with a new ingenious way of lasering children from satellites? Does that help you? No, it doesn't. It does not. What helps you is if we pay for college education. What helps you if we build housing, government-sponsored housing, and American hands build those houses. American hands build those roads that are in a state of dire disrepair. That is how we improve this country. That's why I get so endlessly frustrated whenever I hear from people on Twitter who go online and say, oh, Yemen is going to learn why we don't have health care today. What a joke. You still don't have health care. Is that a worthy cause? Is that an appropriate equation for you? I don't have health care. You don't have health care. But the Houthis are getting blown up with billions of dollars in munitions? Who wants that? And we still lose at the end. So yeah, I don't think this is bad. I think this is not a disastrous surrender. This is a disastrous surrender if you're a war hawk in the hill and you've made hundreds of thousands of dollars every single year demanding more of this war machine. But if you're a regular Joe, if you're a working stiff trying to make ends meet, can't even fucking own a home with one job, can't have a family with one job, no prospects for a better future, why the fuck do you care if America is dominating Iran militarily? It's actually objectively better for you if we stop spending all of our fucking efforts on dominating other countries overseas and start focusing on ourselves, building our fucking roads, building our infrastructure, building a manufacturing base back here on the home turf. I think people are talking past each other. You and Matthew are talking about the U.S. as a collection of people. Sammy is talking about the U.S. as a geopolitical actor. For Americans, this deal is not bad. For the entity that is the U.S., this deal is a loss because it reduces the ability of the state to project power. I know. But I have no loyalty to the entity that is the United States. I have a loyalty to the American people. That's what I'm saying. I have a loyalty to my neighbors. I have a loyalty to my community. I have a loyalty to the working class. And that's what's so fucking frustrating. And we have all been duped. We've been duped into believing that the American entity, right? The coalition of capitalist forces advancing their capital interests somehow are beneficial to us when it's not. It is literally antagonistic to our everyday existence. Doors open. Anyway, what good does it do to us if America has profound force projection capabilities? America demonstrated its force projection capabilities for decades. For decades, everyday American existence was reduced. American working class material conditions worsened for the very same decades that the American force projection capabilities seemingly were absolute. This was the premise of my speech at Yale Union. This is why I also said that the fall of the USSR, the dissolution, the destruction of the USSR was one of the greatest political catastrophes of this century. This is what I meant. Without any opposition around the world, without any fucking great powers that could maybe cause us to reconsider our endless militarism, America had no one to restrain it. It's not a moral consideration, it's a geopolitical one. So yes, it's a bad deal for the United States as a state actor. Yes. But my point is we should have no loyalty. We should not have, we should not keep if the United States is a geopolitical actor, is not placing the interests of the American working class first, then the American working class should not have any fucking interest in advancing America's geopolitical interests. That is the argument, my friends. My only loyalty is to the American people. My only loyalty is to the working class. I have no loyalties to the geopolitical entity that is America if its primary goals are death and destruction overseas to only benefit a handful of petrocapitalist billionaires and Jeffrey Epstein affiliates that are in the field of finance. This American dominance has not given the American people any of the benefits that it seemingly claims it will give. I don't. It's just people who are interpreting someone saying this is a loss wrong. Yeah. Anyway, let's see what Seth Moulton has to say.
Good deal.
And you're right that in the first graph of the JCPOA, it does say Iran wouldn't create a nuclear weapon. But as you know, Republicans criticize it, including Trump, because of that sunset provision. We'll see.
If killing brown people overseas was beneficial for the American class, you'd be in favor. What? You, my friend, live in the United States of America, I suspect, but have no understanding of how to talk to your neighbors. You only have academic jargon at your disposal. Finance capital has made it so that all of the death and destruction that befalls the periphery is not even beneficial for the American working class. And yes, of course, I have to still say the truth in that moment as well. Being a part of the labor aristocracy gives you a fucking upper hand because you're not under the boot. But there is no even distribution of these resources at all. And there is no world where there would be a more bountiful social democracy that leads to more egalitarian outcomes. And then we just continue dominating the rest of the world. So I don't even need to make that argument. Stop with this fucking bullshit. You just want to be academically and morally pure when you make this argument.
What they're able to negotiate now. And I'm wondering what you think about the president formally signing the Iran deal at Versailles last night. What do you think of that symbolism?
I mean, it's an appropriate place to sign a surrender document. And it's too bad that the president is completely oblivious to history to understand the parallels there. But it is amazing that Trump and these MAGA Republicans lost their minds over Obama giving less than $2 billion to the Iranians when they're talking about giving $325 billion to this regime, a regime that's actually even more hardline than when we started this war, because they took out an 86-year-old in failing health with a fatwa against producing nuclear weapons and replaced him with someone who was more hardline in his 50s. Just in case he wasn't hardline enough, they killed his immediate family. I mean, this could be a lot worse. Just to assume that Iran's going to legitimately come to the table and negotiate a good nuclear deal in a mere 60 days, that's a huge...
I'm going to be honest. We don't even deserve the decency that Iran has demonstrated as it has maintained its role as a stable actor in this fucking region, even after all is said and done. It's so stupid. Wake the fuck up, dude. They have always been in favor of diplomacy. Okay? They've always been in favor of diplomacy. And you just brought up the last time where diplomacy worked. When you say the JCPOA, you're literally bringing up the last time Iran was perfectly capable of and willing to play ball with American demands, no matter how ridiculous they were. Like, that's why I brought up the fact. That's why I brought up the fact that Iran has had this capability for decades. Iran has always had the capability of closing the Strait of Hormuz, because this capability does not come from Iranian munitions, even though that certainly helps, but it comes from geographic limitations for America. Okay? And yet they never used it. Even after our multiple decades-long meddling alongside Israel, they never used it. That should prove to you that they have always been in favor of diplomacy, a much more stable actor than the United States of America ever was. A much more stable actor than the United States of America ever deserved as an adversary. This is not glazing Iran. This is just saying the truth.
Huge assumption coming out of this MOU. And so while we're glad that Trump has finally ended this war he should never have started, it's not even clear that it's going to be permanently ended, let alone that we're going to be better off than when he began.
And you say,
but yeah, it is hilarious to do it in Versailles. This is vastly superior to the JCPOA. This deal is better than the JCPOA because it provides stronger incentives for the Iranians to comply. It also ties the U.S. hands more strongly, and it'll be fantastic for the Iranian people. The JCPOA is a poor version of this, not a better version. I see that's a strong counterargument. Oh, you were being serious. Absolutely. This is vastly superior to the JCPOA. By tying U.S. hands on full sanctions relief, Iran can be vastly more confident that the U.S. will keep its side of the bargain. They thus have much stronger incentives to comply themselves. It's true. It is a far better deal for the Iranian side. It's a far better deal than the JCPOA for long-standing peace, potentially. What is this? Hello, young man. First time commenting, 67 years young, raised in the deep south, but a conservative almost my whole life. Saw a segment on you recently and have become a fan. Been watching your content and agree with all that you say. Thank you for being the voice of reason in a sea of propaganda and misinformation. Hell yeah. Hell yeah, Pops. The sole cause for rejoicing is the ceasefire, says Jean-Luc Mélenchon. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has not been held accountable for anything he said, calling out the United States and Israel as the aggressors. Oh my God. He is so fucking awesome. I think Jean-Luc Mélenchon is one of the best leaders right now in the West, in the Western left. He's right. He's right. And people fucking hate him for being right all the time.
At this point, with the global economy at a standstill, did the U.S. have any other option besides an agreement like this?
Well, Brianna, what I do know is that when you're digging a hole, you should stop digging it. We are in a worse spot than we were before we started this war, but we would be even in a worse place if we don't get into an agreement. So as I look at this agreement, I do hope they'll move forward and sign it. But again, it's important to recognize that this has been a big setback for the United States of America. That doesn't mean that this isn't the best way out at the moment, but we should never have been in this moment, because We've lost 14 American service members, hundreds wounded, thousands of civilians killed, oil and gas prices up and up, other prices up and up. And at the end of the day, we're actually worse off because we are now saying in exchange for opening the strait that was open before, we're going to provide a waiver on sanctions. So, you know, it is what it is. It's just very clear proof that we should never have started this stupid illegal war in the beginning.
Right. What do you say to those that would say if we didn't use our capital to dominate others, we would be even more victims of another nation if they had hegemonic power? China is the greatest example of this. China has, for the last decade or so, had this power to dominate us. They're the manufacturing base of the entire planet. This is how, this is how the British Kingdom became the hegemonic superpower, okay? What China is doing right now. And yet they don't do it. This is the language of the oppressor to justify the continuation of oppression. History is riddled with this exact same attitude. Oh, if we free the slaves, the newly freed Africans will then enslave us, white folk. Doesn't happen. If we allow Algeria to liberate itself from French colonial occupation, then they'll come to France and occupy us. It never happens. They will do to us what we've done to them, has always been the language of the oppressor. And yet, it never happens. If we abolish the apartheid in South Africa, then black people will dominate white people and a white genocide will take place. It never happens. It so never happens that Donald Trump has had to invent that reality, ironically enough. It's ridiculous. For as much as history has shown us that conflict and war is a part of the ever-present nature of man, peace and cooperation has also always been a part of our attitude. I mean, look at Europe. Look at Europe. These are kingdoms that waged war against one another for hundreds of years, if not thousands, when they were fucking barbaric tribes. They were murdering one another. There was literally a war between England and France that spanned over an entire century, the 100-Year War. And now you look back and you're like, these guys are allies, of course. We always take peace for granted. We always take cooperation for granted when it's taking place. Look at Germany. The economic engine that drives the European Union, Germany. That wasn't that long ago. That wasn't even 100 years ago. When Germany was not only doing the Holocaust, but also invading all these other European countries.
Iran, they're now below $4 a gallon for the first time in months, and that is good news. But the president is facing major pushback on parts of the deal, including from his own party. Ed O'Keefe is at the White House with more. Ed, good morning.
Adriana, good to see you. You know, this agreement earned nearly universal praise from European leaders President Trump met with this week. Even the Pope supports it because they're eager to see the conflict resolved. But back here at home, the president faces intense bipartisan criticism, even as he says it's better than the alternative, prolonged war and global economic uncertainty.
We got to stand with Trump, our boy. We got to stand with our GOAT, President Donald Trump. He's right. That's the peace president you're talking about. Put some respect on his name. Let me tell you, that water, the bluest water I've ever seen in the reflecting pool in DC, never seen a better blue than that, okay? Ballroom, make a second one. You shut your goddamn commie mouth, Ed O'Keefe.
Trump picked a famous peace treaty setting, the ornate Palace of Versailles, at a private dinner with the French president to sign the memo that sets up...
Yeah, the Supreme Court, bunch of charlatans. Take Kennedy's name off the building. Laser back the Trump name to the side of that motherfucking building. Take Kennedy's name off. Okay? That's where I'm at. If he pulls through on this, that's where I'm at. That's the energy I got.
60 days of talks with Iran. Only then the two sides will begin hammering out his long-stated main objective.
Iran will never have a nuclear weapon.
The U.S. and Iran have 2 months to address the issue of nuclear enrichment and resolve how to dispose of Iran's enriched uranium. But the president warned it may take more time.
Could take longer. Just as long as they're behaving, I really don't care that much.
Earlier, he conceded domestic political pressure compelled him to act.
I didn't want to see economic catastrophe. If you kept this going, that could have happened. But all I know is every time we talked about the possibility of peace, the stock market shot up like a rocket ship.
And despite declaring on the first day of the attacks,
We are going to destroy their missiles and raise their missile industry to the ground.
now he says Iran should have ballistic missiles for self-defense.
I'm saying that if other countries have them, it's a little bit unfair for them not to have some.
But back home,
It's going to leave Iran stronger.
Louisiana Republican Senator Bill Cassidy called the deal the worst foreign policy blunder in decades. North Carolina Republican Senator Tom Tillis says Congress should get to sign off.
The only way you get an agreement that lasts for a generation is to have the binding force of a congressionally ratified treaty or agreement.
And Democrats argue Trump gave away too much to Iran.
Trump started this war. He didn't know how to finish it.
Yeah, that was the problem. Not the fact that Trump started the war, but he didn't know how to finish it.
And it looks like in too many ways he has just capitulated to the Iranians.
While the president and Iran's leader.
Yeah, remember when he was like, Taco Trump, don't cut a side deal with Iran without letting us know. You better not chicken out. You better go wage war with Iran. Well, he did, you fucking bitch. What happened? What happened? You got everything you wanted. Chuck Schumer literally got everything he wanted out of this, and he just doesn't like the outcomes. I don't think you nailed the social interaction. What is this? What? I don't give a shit.
Leadership have now officially signed off on the deal. Vice President Vance is still scheduled to visit Switzerland to meet with Iranian leaders tomorrow, and we expect the first round of technical talks to begin on Saturday. Vlad?
All right, Ed, thank you very much. For more on the deal, let's bring in CBS News national security analyst Aaron McLean. Aaron, good morning.
Good morning.
So if you compare the administration's publicly stated objectives at the outset of this conflict with the terms that appear in this memorandum, how large is the gap between the war aims and the settlement? What original goals were achieved, which were modified, and which appeared to have been abandoned altogether?
Gosh, the gap is pretty vast, Vlad. I'm struck by the symbolism of this MOU getting signed at Versailles. I don't know how your World War I history is, but the Treaty of Versailles didn't work out that well in the end. And I think the prospects of this MOU achieving even the limited goal, which is the one the administration is still pursuing, which is the ending of Iran's pursuit of nuclear weapons, is also pretty limited. There's been a lot of discussion in the last few weeks about how comparable this deal is going to be to the JCPOA. Well, now we have the text. I think in several material aspects, the deal is actually weaker for the United States than the JCPOA, to include especially on sanctions relief in the Strait of Hormuz. It's really quite remarkable.
So the agreement starts a 60-day negotiating period for a final deal. With what you just said, what would a successful end to this conflict look like?
Well, I think for the president and the administration, the goal they've continually articulated is it will end Iran's pursuit of nuclear weapons. They will never get a nuclear weapon as a consequence of this deal. That's their goal. However, I think they've set themselves up in a negotiating structure that's going to make that extremely difficult. They're giving up a ton of leverage at the front end here. They are lifting the blockade. They're giving sanctions waivers. A series of other measures. They're going to flow billions of dollars into Iran over the next couple of months. Having done all that up front,
Like, think about it. We're treating the unfreezing of their money and the allowance that we're giving them to operate in the international markets like a normal fucking country as an L. Like, as though they're supposed to be permanently relegated to this, like, second-class country status that's, like, always... That just has to sit idly by and die, right? It's such a strange way to talk about a sovereign nation, another country. And yet, it's perfectly American. As a matter of fact, it's the only way we know how to talk about other countries.
order for Iran to open the Strait of Hormuz, they are then going to sit down and begin.
Have you ever tried maybe being right on time for once? This pre-watch shit is really getting you in trouble. No, I will never stop pre-watching global events before they finalize. I don't give a shit if people get really mad at me over it. They'll get mad. They'll then agree with me, but they'll never forget why they'll get mad. Then they'll inevitably come to the conclusion that I'm right, but they'll never forget how I made them feel initially when I was right and they were wrong. But here's the thing. I don't work for them. I work for you. So, who gives a fuck if they're mad?
And these so-called technical talks to work out the nuclear issue. So they give billions of dollars up front, and then down the road they say, hey, can you give us a bunch of concessions on your nuclear program?
Yeah.
We'll see how that works out, Vlad.
15 seconds, Aaron. Better deal for Iran or better deal for the U.S.?
Absolutely a better deal for Iran. Now, you never know what the president's going to do. He can flip on a dime again here in the weeks to come. Also, he needs congressional review for some of this stuff, so the future's unclear.
All right, Aaron McLean for us. Thank you very much.
Can you help us understand President Trump's shift on his stance for Iran's ballistic missile program? Initially, it was a key objective to dismantle it. Yesterday, he said it would only be fair if they had some, if the countries around Iran also had some. So when and why did that change? And will the final...
Dude, it's so funny. They're literally like, why do they have, like, why are they allowed to have ballistic missiles? Like, why don't we get to dictate it? I don't know, because they fucking lost. Like, the United States lost. That's why. An informed source told Al Mayadeen the Iranian negotiating delegation has suspended its departure to Switzerland due to the ongoing Israeli attacks on southern Lebanon. The Iranian delegation had already planned to travel there to begin the first round of negotiations, which were scheduled to last 60 days before it made the decision to suspend travel. Tehran has informed the American side and the mediators that the Lebanon issue is central to its negotiations and the continuation or suspension of those negotiations. Oh, now the Democrats can be fucking excited. No talks tomorrow. See, I told you. Told you. Israel is already up to no good.
final agreement have any restrictions on these missiles?
So we destroyed a substantial number of their ballistic missiles and their ballistic missile launchers themselves. It's not just the bullets, but it's the actual gun. And that's what we were extremely effective at in destroying during the last 3 months of the campaign.
Yeah. What this asshole is not telling you, he's not wrong. So here's the thing. They didn't destroy a substantial number of ballistic missiles, but they did destroy a decent number of ballistic missile launchers. He's not wrong about that. The problem is, those are unbelievably replaceable. Those are K trucks that they just put the launching platform on the back of with like a decent suspension. That's it. So the reality of the matter is, blowing up those TELs is inconsequential. It is far more expensive to use a missile to blow up that truck than it is to literally rebuild that truck. And yes, they destroyed a substantial number of their ballistic munitions by creating numerous targets, billion-dollar radar installations and the like, that those ballistic munitions were destroyed in blowing up. So yeah, J.D. Vance is not totally off base here.
All the president said yesterday is that, of course, countries don't give up the right of self-defense. Israel doesn't give up the right of self-defense if Hezbollah fires rockets or drones at Israel. The Iranians don't give up the right of self-defense in their country. But we do expect that as part of the final deal, they are not going to be able to build the kind of missiles that can broadly threaten the entire world. And that's what the President of the United States said yesterday. And look, I mean, it's very...
It's awesome. They're saying this is a tricky way of wording this, but he's basically saying we don't give a fuck if those missiles reach Israel. Like, oh, we just don't want Iran to deploy or we don't want Iran to develop further strike capabilities, which they have not on their own. Now, we can talk about whether that was appropriate or not, but they have not. So he's just taking ownership over something that Iran has never actually initiated.
Very simple. You can't tell a country, whether Israel or Iran, they're not allowed to have any self-defense. That's not what the president has asked. That's not what the president has requested. But as part of the final deal, what we want to see is Iran not funding regional instability, funding regional terrorism, and of course trying to rebuild their nuclear weapons program. That's the main thing. The nuclear weapons program is destroyed. It is gone. If the Iranians decided tomorrow to build a nuclear weapon, they simply don't have the capacity in order to do that. What we're trying to ensure is they don't rebuild that capacity, not just a year from now, 2 years from now, but many, many years from now, so that our children never have to worry about a state sponsor of terrorism having a nuclear weapon.
This is also an interesting take because I thought maybe I was wrong, but I thought Galabaf was more of a hardliner. And this take is actually against that position where he's saying, like, basically he says that the negotiations actually yielded so much more benefit than military action. And he's wrong. There would be no negotiations if there wasn't military action. Iran spent blood, sweat, and tears and munitions to get to the negotiations table. So I think he's wrong saying that the negotiations brought us far better than anything we could have ever wanted from military action. Yeah, he's saying like the negotiations maneuvering around like will they, won't they actually sign an MOU is what caused Donald Trump to say, fuck it, I'll give you whatever concessions you want. Now, as an IRGC hardliner, I disagree vehemently with the take coming from this fucking moderate. Okay? If it wasn't for the Shahed drones, they would not be sitting at the fucking negotiations table. Okay?
در کل لبنان داد.
Yeah, get this woke nonsense out of here. Get this woke nonsense out of here, bro.
با اون ادبیات با نتانیاهو صحبت کرد. این مذاکره یعنی یک روش مبارزه. پس نگاه کنید ما مهمیه که به هدف برسیم. اون شب من با دوستانمون که مرتب در تماس بودیم در میدان نظامی گفتم شما آماده این کار هستید و باشید. ولی شما نگاه کنید یه اتفاق افتاد دیگه، یعنی این امنیت برگشت. شما همون شب و امروز دیدید که همه مردمی که آواره بودن بیش از 50%شون رفتن. این قدرت مذاکره یک روش مبارزه هست، یعنی این.
Enter Ukraine hitting Russia right in the heart. Plumes of black smoke could be seen following a Ukrainian drone.
I mean, Larjani was also a centrist, kind of. He was pragmatic. What is this?
One.
Ethan Klein is threatening to sue me. Oh my God, that's awesome. The more Iran postures to look like the peace-loving nation in this conflict, the more they gain from making Israel and U.S. look like belligerent aggressors. I think there's a level that you can't go beyond when you're Muslim and brown. It's or if you're Chinese and atheist, right? I also think that there are intelligent people that will see, like they did with the whole Liberation Day tariff shit, that like China would obviously wait it out, show the rest of the world that they are the stable partners, and some people will learn an important lesson from that. But ultimately, they're not going to find themselves in the Chinese pole of power, and I don't think they're going to see that with Iran either. No matter how hard Iran shows over and over again that they are a far less belligerent actor here than America and Israel. This is low key part of the whole point of the importance of Shahed drones as opposed to words in negotiations, if you know what I mean. Ah, yes, the main criticism of ICC wanted war criminal Benjamin Netanyahu. He lost wars. If only his genocidal violence was a strategic success, then surely he would be worthy of support. Yeah, Neera Tanden says, leaders who lose wars should lose their jobs. That's awesome. I am, if the MOU holds, all I can see is blue, dude. I'll say it again. I just want to check back in with the bluest. I just want to check back in with the bluest pool I've ever seen as I fantasize about not one ballroom, but maybe two ballrooms. A ballroom on top of the ballroom. That is American flag blue, folks. As long as the MOU holds, that's a blue-ass pool. Okay? Yo, what the fuck happened to it? What do you mean? The advanced nano bubbler technology very effectively killed the algae that had plagued every Lincoln reflecting pool reopening, most infamously after Obama's reopening since 1922. The reflecting pool is water is crystal clear. And our National Park Service team is now vacuuming up the dead algae resting on the bottom of some parts of the reflecting pool, just like the destroyed Iranian Navy resting on the bottom of the Persian Gulf. Huh. You got to check back.
I'm here at the Lincoln Memorial reflecting.
I hope this fucking hater ass bitch, Jonathan Karl, doesn't lie about my big, beautiful president's big, beautiful blue ass pool. Okay.
Pool and some astounding developments regarding this project, which the president himself has taken such a great interest in. You remember $14 million was spent to drain this whole thing and to paint the bottom American flag blue was the color, he said, to make it reflect more magnificently. As you can see, it's all green now. They know that. They're trying to kill the algae. But as they're doing that, something else has happened. Check this out. That American flag blue paint, it's peeling away. The $14 million job to redo the bottom of this reflecting pool is falling apart before our eyes. The algae is still here.
Oh my God. Dude, it's so perfect. I could not have imagined a more perfect demonstration of late-stage American capitalism and American imperial decline than this story. I love the story. I keep coming back to the story for this reason. It's so funny. It's literally everything. It's everything. It's got it all. It's got motherfuckers saying the green is blue. It's got Republicans fantasizing about how there's like libtards who've actually made the pool green. It's been so costly. So unbelievably costly. And it's been a spectacular failure. I love it.
In the Iranian system, Iran has also, in this conflict, seemingly discovered the...
Ross Douthat, my op at the New York Times, having an interview with J.D. Vance. Let's take a look.
Power that comes with being able to close the Strait of Hormuz and disrupt global energy markets. So someone might say, well, sure, the Saudis and the Emiratis want to make this deal now because they know that we're heading over a global energy cliff that will screw them over in various ways. And so they're willing to talk themselves into a deal that they wouldn't have liked as much if Iran hadn't demonstrated that kind of power. Isn't Iran, at the very least, walking away from this war having established a kind of non-nuclear deterrence?
So that was a better but still wrong argument, I think, 4 weeks ago. I think it's very hard to sort of make that case today. And let me explain why. So number one is everybody knew the Straits of Hormuz just for pure function of geography and how easy it is to asymmetrically disrupt traffic in the Strait of Hormuz. Everybody, the Gulf Coast Coalition, the United States, Israel.
Wait. Oh, really? Oh, really? That's so strange. Yeah, except you and Donald Trump, I guess. You fucking idiot. Oh, wow. Oh, wow. So everybody knew. So does that mean you're even dumber than the average person? You see, Ross, everybody knew that Iran could always destroy the global energy market. I mean, it's true. I knew it. We all knew it. We knew it here at the Hasanabi broadcast, but seemingly, the one guy that didn't know happened to be the guy. His name is Donald Trump.
Israel, Iran, everybody has known that Iran has had that as a potential leverage point to use. Everybody understood that. So the idea that we sort of discovered that, or the Gulf Coast Coalition discovered that, I think that's not accurate. Number two, one of the things that we've actually been able to do under a sort of, what was originally called Project Freedom, is that we've been able to get a lot of oil and gas out of the Gulf in the last few weeks. And I do think this is one of the things the Iranians learned is, the Strait of Hormuz is not a card that you play and then you pick up off the table. You have to play it day after day after day. And I think the fundamental transformation is that as the Iranians saw that leverage point, to be clear, it was very powerful 3 months ago. It was weakening more and more over time. And so they actually...
So could you have kept going? Without, because you did. We avoided the scale of global energy shock, right? That a lot of people, myself included, as an amateur reader of, people writing about oil, expected. We had higher gas prices, but we didn't have, things were not nearly as bad as they could have been.
Correct.
But my perception was, and a lot of people's perception was, that you couldn't keep running that through the fall.
So, by the way, I have to give credit to Scott Bessent, the Treasury Secretary, and Chris Wright, the Energy Secretary, because part of the reason why the doomsayer predictions about the oil and gas markets, and to be clear, I know the American people have felt some pain because of this. I don't want to discount this, right. But the very worst predictions never came to fruition because Scott Bessent and Chris Wright did an amazing job at trying to absorb as much of that shock as possible. So could we have kept going? Sure, we could have kept going, and we would have gotten more and more oil and gas out of the Strait of Hormuz. But the fundamental thing that the president asks, and this is what he's just fundamentally pragmatic about foreign policy, is
they absorbed the shock by literally opening the faucet of the strategic reserves, and every analyst worth their salt was saying that they were basically approximately 1 month out from hitting the red line. So. Yeah, you couldn't have continued to wage this war. And here's the greatest evidence for it. You stopped. You didn't stop because of the kindness of your heart. You stopped because you made that calculation that you couldn't withstand more energy shock. It's not what's the argument here? That you guys were like, you know what? We could go on for years. Honestly, I mean, we could go on for decades. We could keep doing that. We love that 20% of the entire world's energy supply is just stuck inside of the Gulf. But we're gonna put an end to this war because we're kind-hearted fellows.
He looks at the situation and says, if we keep going, gas prices stay higher for longer, inevitably, and we also don't get this opportunity that we have right in front of us to at least take a shot at transforming the Middle East. And if it doesn't work, we can always figure out new options a couple months.
Yeah, transforming the Middle East away from Israel and into the hands of Iran, by the way. That is what he is saying, and that's why I'm saying the MOU is actually pretty fucking solid overall, and I think will create long-standing stability and peace if we are capable of restraining Israel. That's a big if, though.
Down the road, we could always just say, by the way, you know what? Their nuclear program's destroyed. They can't rebuild it without any money. So we're going to continue to choke their economy and basically say to the Iranians, come to us when you want to make a deal. There's a lot of optionality here. And I think what the president said is he wanted to get us to a point where we had optionality, we had leverage, and then play this out a little bit further. And that's what we're doing.
Okay. There is another country in the Middle East that
Ross loves. Shit, never mind. Guess you were right. He's just explained. Yeah, kindness of their hearts type deal, Kindness of their hearts type shit. That's just, benevolent American. The benevolent American foreign policy apparatus at play. That's how they operate. Benevolent.
Thinks of itself as having a very intimate knowledge of the Iranian regime.
Yeah.
Not just the Gulf states. That's Israel. I don't think this deal is popular in Israel right now. I don't think you're an especially popular figure in Israel today. We'll see where things are in 6 months. And one perception I think that people have after watching this war unfold is that there is a certain misalignment maybe between the kind of pragmatic American interest that you just described the president having and the more existential sense of the stakes that Israel has. And one key criticism of the Obama deal from people in the Republican Party, people in Israel, elsewhere, was always that it was focused on the nuclear program.
By the way, I can't begin to explain to you how little I give a fuck about Israel's interest in this one, okay? I'm sorry. I'm a motherfucking American, bitch. You've already taken like $380 billion of our tax dollars for the last 80 years. You think I give a shit about your fucking goals? Suck my dick. Seriously. Why? Why the fuck should the American vice president care about, how the Israelis feel about him? Know your fucking place. Know your place.
And wasn't focused on Iranian proxies, their support for terrorism around the Middle East, their support for Hezbollah and Hamas. So I'm just curious, do you think there's a misalignment between the U.S. and Israel? Do you think Israel has incentives to not want this deal to continue? And is there a vision for how you get to a point where Iranian support for Hezbollah isn't sending rockets into Israel on the regular?
Well, what I'd say here is that it's clear that large segments of the Israeli political system and population are very sensitive about this deal. But I also think they're picking up on some misinformation about the deal and running with it and sort of panicking about it. And I fundamentally believe this deal will be good for the entire region and for the world. That includes, of course, the Israelis. Now, I think it's important to say that while I do believe that this deal will be good for the entire world, fundamentally, we're worried about what's in the best interest of the American people. And to the extent that, and I think the president has shown this, where he sees misalignment between the goals of the political system in Israel and the goals of the American people, he's willing to say that we're going to pursue America's interests where there are divergences. So there are certainly going to be disagreements from time to time. I think that's normal. I will say, I don't know, maybe I've missed this. I don't think Bibi himself has actually criticized the deal.
Oh my God. Yeah. Bibi himself hasn't had time to criticize the deal because he's sitting in the fucking Führer bunker. And this time, he doesn't even have to contemplate when he will kill himself like Adolf Hitler did. This time, he's worried about Otzma Yehudit coming after him. Or the average liberal Zionist that's out on the street. They might murder him as well. The entire Israeli society is turned on Benjamin Netanyahu and Donald Trump. So I don't think he could be making a lot of public statements right now because they were all geared towards death and destruction. Turns out that's what happens when you fucking develop a fascist society over decades that only cares about the extermination of the underclass, the Untermenschen, literally.
Because I think he's maybe a little bit more familiar with the details of what's in it. But yeah, you've seen people in their system, Ben-Gvir and Smotrich, who've attacked the deal. And I guess my response to them would be, what is your exact...
They told everyone Iran killed 50K protesters, so of course they're worked up. Wait, what? You think they give a shit? You think Israelis give a fuck that Iran killed 50,000 protesters? What do you mean? Israel gives a fuck that they don't get to kill 50,000 more Iranians. None of these people actually cared about, these lies. Like, they didn't actually believe these lies, right? They're not blindsided. No, I don't believe that. I don't believe anyone. Like, I think there are, first of all, it's not 50,000 protesters. It's 50 million protesters. Okay, get it right. It's actually, nope, sorry. Get it right. It's actually 500 million protesters. Holy Toledo. Iran killed 2 billion Iranian protesters. One sniper rifle, one rooftop, 50 trillion protesters killed in a matter of a day and a half. Anyway, yeah, the one Iranian sniper rifle from the IRGC and Mao Zedong. But in any case, the point I'm trying to make is these guys wanted to use that as a justification to blow up Iran and kill more Iranians. So my point always is like, obviously they didn't give a shit about the unbelievable levels of repression that the IRGC took on when quelling the unrest inside of Iran. That's it.
Proposal. And, you know, you're a country of 9 million people. You can't just kill your way out of solving every single national security problem that you have. Look at what we've accomplished. First of all, Americans have protected a lot of Israeli lives through our missile systems and through our missile programs over the last few months. We have destroyed their nuclear program. We have got the Iranians in a point.
And by the way, Cloud is wrong. I don't think any Biden administration official, while they were in power, while Israel was continuing its fucking genocide, actually turned around. Anyway, I forgot what I was saying, but I totally lost. I got lost in the sauce. I was looking at something else. Wait, oh my God. This is what the Iranian government did? Oh, they said Israel cannot use force to get out of their problems. They did not say kill, but I believe it's basically the same thing. Yeah. The Cloud District Enjoyer, no, I don't think they've ever been as forceful. I don't think any Biden administration official of this level, like Kamala Harris never came out, in my opinion, and ever had this forceful of a condemnation of Israel's actions while they were continuing Israel's genocide. And the reason why I say that is because like there was never an MOU style. There was never an MOU style deal in play. Like, can you imagine? Because the Israel equivalent of this would be if America went to Hamas, right? During the Israeli genocide of the Palestinians. The equivalence of what's taking place here is if America went to Hamas directly, cut Israel out of the deal entirely, and said, we are going to have a conversation with you. What do you want? And then they basically gave Hamas everything that Hamas wanted, which in this circumstance would be ironically identical to what the Iranian side wanted, which was just, right? Like a long-standing commitment to a long-standing peace and stability in the fucking region. You can't tell me that the Biden admin did anything similar to that. Okay? Sure, you could say, well, Hamas didn't actually win by the same margins that Iran did, because Hamas has no capabilities of like disrupting, you know, international trade and commerce. But there's nothing that comes even remotely similar to what the Trump administration has done this past week to the Biden administration when Israel was melting Palestinian children on a daily basis. Nothing at all. This is also far more consequential than Trump's fake ceasefire deal that he put together and the peace plan and the peace board or whatever. And the difference is because Iran actually won. Also, I do think Trita is using ChatGPT sometimes. Like, this is so ChatGPT coded, and I'm a little disappointed, even though I really love Trita. J.D. Vance is not changing the conversation about Israel and the U.S. He's changing the entire paradigm. He's reminding the Israelis that they are alone. Though he doesn't use this word, much disliked internationally, Israel should not undermine the only strong friend they have left. If I was in a cabinet of the Israeli government, I might not be attacking the only powerful ally that I have left. And he's reminding them of their utter dependence on the United States, because 2/3 of the weapons that have protected Israel have been built by American hands and paid by American tax dollars. As a point of comparison, no one of the Biden admin ever spoke like this about Israel when Netanyahu was blowing through Biden's so-called red lines on Gaza. Trita glazes these guys way too much. He doesn't need to. I mean, Amy Goodman's peace sign. He is still, bro, he wrote that himself. Why the shade? Look, Trita, as much as I appreciate his commentary and his analysis, is still a guy that is working at a think tank. Okay? He is not going to have the same perspective that I do, because I think Quincy Institute for Responsible Statecraft is an I wouldn't say it's like an anti-American imperialist think tank. It's not. It's more so a think tank that is still ultimately invested in the continuation of like some kind of American dominance, but a much more reasonable American dominance. Now, for the record, it's anti-interventionist, right? It's not anti-imperialist, it's anti-interventionist, and it is the best. It is, out of all of these fucking demonic entities in Capitol Hill, it is the best. Like, nothing comes close. And I really appreciate them, and I lean on their work. Yeah, Quincy and CIP. Those are the only two. Yeah, it's for responsible statecraft. It's not anti-imperialist. It's not Marxist. It's still funded by the Kochs, right? Like, there is, I think, some Koch involvement there as well. It's just like ideologically anti-interventionist. So they're not going to be they're not going to be Marxist anti-imperialist. There might be Marxist anti-imperialists working there, but their overall output is not going to be like that. And he's also trying to sell this to the admin. He's trying to sell this to CNN. He's trying to sell this position that this MOU is good to people that are infinitely to his right. Okay? Prida is also relatively pro-Iran, though. He's the president of NIAC. Was the president, I think, right? Wikipedia now officially lists the results of 2026 Iranian wars and Iranian victory. I mean, it was an unambiguous victory. His definition of independence is being able to destroy civilian homes. We're dealing with a genocidal death cult here. Israeli National Security Minister Ben-Gvir, oh, the fucking biggest dipshit of all. We cannot stop destroying houses in southern Lebanon. We cannot stop, period. We cannot allow the population of southern Lebanon to return. We must continue to control the territory, even if Trump disagrees. We are an independent state. He's like a comic book villain, dude. It's so funny. Israelis react to the news that they may have to bomb fewer schools and hospitals like the greatest betrayal in history. Like, literally, they lose their minds. If you tell the Israeli government they can't murder school children any longer, they're like, this is literally Holocaust levels of extermination that you're doing to us, the Jewish people. It's so crazy, which is also always something that I will never understand why American Jews who don't live there, who don't like it that much, will ever fucking lean into to be like, yeah, this represents me. Not many of them are doing it as openly, but the ones who do it openly is crazy, okay? I just don't get it. It's like, you don't even fucking live there. You don't want to live there. You find a lot of these guys to be gross, and yet you still have to be a fucking fake fan, okay? You have to dick ride it, like as though it's the ultimate thing that you have to do. Is the most consequential thing you have to do. You don't even want to fucking live there, bitch. What is this? I got kicked out of a long COVID WhatsApp group for being Israeli. It's weird how an illness aligns with politics. These are all of my interests. There it is. This is every now and then there's a perfect tweet. And here it is. It's a crazy level of brain rot, especially because the arguments about masking in Israel is really tolerant about the issue, and we have great universal health care. 10 bodies. ADL. Put that down. Jonathan Greenblatt. Put that shit down. You see this? Jonathan, you see this? That's 10 bodies. Easy. 10 anti-Semitisms. Wait, what is this? Peep the second reply. She was giving the game away. I'm wondering why they associate every single Israeli with being complicit in war criminal. I mean, it's a country of 8 million Jews and with a lot of plurality. Some of them even anti-Zionist. It's mind-boggling. I would not mind to have an Iranian, Russian, or North Korean friend. If I give them the benefit of the doubt, I think they kicked you out because the Jews invented the coronavirus. Actually, it's because I argue that people use masks to hide their identity, to support terrorism, and commit violent acts without consequences. Oh my God, it's the gift that keeps on giving. Oh my God. Oh, it's so funny. I got kicked out of the long COVID group. This is like something that I would joke about. I got kicked out of the long COVID group. I got kicked out of the long COVID support group because I said that people who are masking were doing it to do terrorism in America because they love Hamas. And then they kicked me out. This is like when one chatter yelled at me because I said we should unmask these cops. And the chatter was like, what about long COVID? I was like, what the fuck are you talking about? Those guys don't even get vaccinated. They don't even believe that COVID is real. They're not putting a fucking mask on because they're not putting a mask on because they're worried about COVID. Yeah, when people with long COVID won't even hide you. Oh no. That was months ago. How do you remember that? Because I've lost formative memories. You want to know why? Because I have no fucking life, because I'm a chud-ass loser, and I think about all the stupid fucking arguments. Oh, this is what Brace... All the Zoomers that work for me are bisexual. All of them have long COVID, he said. I'll believe long COVID is real when someone who is not bisexual has it. Wasn't this Brace who said this? I do believe in long COVID before people yell at me, okay? I do. Yes. Also, this chatter is correct. I've literally forgotten my 10th birthday because I'm too busy remembering specific Megaphonics opinions to get mad at, okay? Specific Cloud District Enjoyer opinions to get upset at. It's ruined my life. You guys have ruined my fucking life, dude. Incredible things are happening at the Atlantic. The left-wing case against anti-Zionism. Oh my God, Adam Lewis Klein published in the Atlantic. Oh my God, what a pivotal achievement. The left-wing case against anti-Zionism, discrimination against Israelis, Israelis, and the Zionists who appear as their proxies is a moral wrong. How Trump be moving recently?
Could you guys please say free Palestine? Yeah. Could you guys say that, please? Yeah. Say free Palestine. Yeah. 1, 2, 3. Free Palestine!
What? What the fuck? The most politically confused people of all time, bro. I swear to God. What the fuck is this? This is a neo-Nazi, no? It is funny that these guys, this is literally a Mexican white supremacist neo-Nazi, by the way, and a Lali Khan. And this neo-Nazi, this Mexican neo-Nazi, and I don't mean Nick Fuentes, is a different one in actual Mexico, gets to live in the fucking glorious empire of Claudia Sheinbaum. He's not Mexican, he's Bangladeshi. I thought he was Mexican. No, I'm pretty sure he's Mexican in Mexico. Oh, this is the guy who wrote Borat. One of the brilliant comedic minds that brought to you Borat. He's British. Donald Trump has been a fantastic ally to Israel. Some Trump haters saying we told you so are acting like they've never heard the phrase, it was good while it lasted. The fact that a page can be turned in a relationship doesn't null and void all the good that occurred in that relationship. It's super patronizing for those saying we told you so to assume everyone else was a naive idiot living in a world where they thought everything would always be roses. If this is a turning point, it's a real loss. The real loss is for America and the free world as they buttress and empower the tyranny and expansionist goals of radical Islam. Always projection with these motherfuckers, man. The pro-Israel crowd always engaging in projection. Borat 2, he wrote on Borat 2 only. Cancel me, but I love your accents. They crack me up so much. Thank you, chatter. I needed that. Oh, what is E. Fatlaw saying? J.D. Vance has succeeded in sounding more ignorant on the Middle East than AOC. Are you fucking kidding me? I'm E. Fatlaw. E. Fatlaw is tired. His posts are nuts, dude. Well, I don't care about this guy anymore. Come on. We've moved on to bigger and better things like E. Fatlaw. Eve Fatlaw. Yeah, a lesson here for all Americans, by the way, is that if we can treat Iran like a normal country, okay? If we treat Iran like a normal country, perhaps we can also treat Cuba like a normal country. Oh, wow. Cuba has presented zero threat to the United States of America, for example. Just something to consider. Oh, let's finish.
Where they're offering things, again, whether they'll actually act on them, we'll see. But they're offering things that would have been the stuff of dreams even 6 months ago.
I love all your accents except RFK. I know a Pakistani unk who dies laughing from your Danny Denon voice. These are quilts of Hamas. I am Danny Denon, Israel's only ambassador.
So let us play this negotiation out. Let us see if the Iranian actions actually meet the Iranian words, and give a little bit of credit to the United States of America, which I think has been an incredible partner for the Israeli government for a long time.
In the best case, do you think that this deal changes how Hezbollah works?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, I think that they
more effectively.
There is this weird panic almost in the Israeli system that I've picked up on, where they assume that everything that is contemplated that is good for Iran will happen, but that will happen without the Iranians changing any behavior. And I just don't know why anybody would think that's true. That's not how the deal is written. The United States has all the financial leverage. Like, the President of the United States or the Secretary of the Treasury have to release all these sanctions. Do they actually think we're going to release sanctions on the Iranian, system if they're still funding a terrorist organization? The answer is, of course not. So I find this whole freak out in Israel a little bit odd, because I think that it comes from a place of mistrust. And I think that America has earned the trust of that region of the world. We've done a very good job by that particular country and that particular government. And I think that the idea that we've made a terrible deal is...
I just hate his vibe so much. Like, I would rather listen to Trump drone on about how everything is computer and everybody's transgender than this fucking dipshit being like, me. I feel like we've actually earned the trust. I'm gonna say we've actually earned the trust of Israel with our many years of support. Like, he just sucks so bad. He is so fucking Reddit. He is Reddit personified. I find him genuinely repulsive. It makes me so annoyed. He literally takes all of the worst qualities of a smarmy, annoying, entitled, elitist lib and then packages the most unvarnished fascist propaganda through it all the time. I'll have you know that some of these immigrants needed to be murdered in the murder machine. What were we supposed to do? Not murder them? It's like he is... Yeah, he's way too academic. Yeah, J.D. Vance is particularly annoying because he's a suit in both directions. He pretends to be an intellectual, but he's not that smart, and he acts like a chud. But he came through elite institutions. Biggest fucking phony I've ever seen. Is 100% right. It is the truth. It's the fucking truth of all truths. It's the biggest truth nuke. He is the libbed up groiper. He is, oh my God, he's literally the liberal groiper. Like, at least Tucker Carlson has this sociopathic energy, but he has like some level of WASP swagger, if you want to, put it to terms like that. Like, there is an element of like, I'm a WASP. I come from this pedigree. I come from this background. I'm not going to make it seem like I'm actually anything but a country club guy. Okay. Whereas like J.D. Vance is constantly trying to take the dumbest chud opinions and then spit them out so that he can get the Groibers on his side. But because of his Yale background and because he's not that intelligent overall, he just ends up looking like a fucking idiot. He is beyond unlikable because the liberals that hear his like liberal language, hear what he's saying, and they go, "You're a fucking chud. I hate you." And the Republicans look at him and go, "You're a pussy and gay." And then the Groibers look at him and go, "Your wife is Indian. You're a race mixer." So he's got nothing. He can't win a single damn... And the Catholics hate him. The Pope is basically on the verge of excommunicating him last time. If you recall, when he was trying to... actually, the Pope should stay out of businesses of war and famine. Like... That was awesome. When he was like, as a recently converted Catholic, I know a lot more than the motherfucking Pope does. It's like, dude, you're a heretic. They would burn you at the fucking stake back in the day. The fuck do you mean you know more than God's honest truth on earth?
It's not supported by the facts, but just doesn't make any sense if you consider the broad length of the relationship.
Okay. We're going to try and come back to this at the end.
Okay.
But you know who only makes good deals? Jesus. So we're gonna talk.
I was gonna say, you know, who also had strong opinions and came from Israel,
who had strong views in the Middle East. Yes. So, in addition to talking about the Iran deal, you're talking about your new book, which is called Communion.
Yes.
Finding My Way Back to Faith.
Sure.
And it's part religious memoir, and then I would say partially sort of folding religious memoir into the kind of book that someone contemplating a run for president might write.
Oh,
sort of
on.
an uneasy hybrid, maybe, of genres. But you know, it's
well, the two books.
It's a rich text. Let's say that. So
the two books that I've written are actually fundamentally like uneasy fusions of genres.
I mean,
that's
look,
what I like to do.
I've done uneasy genre fusion myself.
My writing.
So all right, so let's talk about the personal story in the book for a minute. You grew up, I'd say, bouncing around different forms of Protestant Christianity.
Correct.
Evangelical, non-denominational, Pentecostal, all of which, I should note, tend to be massively underrepresented in the American elite.
Sure.
So could you just talk about what that upbringing sort of offered to you? What did you take away from the experience of religion, from growing up in that part of American Christianity?
Yeah, so you know, some good and some not so good. I mean, I think in particular, what was not so good about my religious upbringing is it was fundamentally like institutionally unrooted. We would occasionally go to church. There was a church that my grandma liked a lot, but you know, in a good year, we went there once a month, right, at most. And so one of the things that is true, I think, of a lot of Christianity in the United States of America is that, you know, people believe very deeply. We certainly believed very deeply, but I didn't have a proper formation in my faith because I didn't actually have a community of believers that was surrounding me. When my grandma died, that was sort of my...
Okay, the rest of this is like about fucking actually, I'm a Catholic. And I don't care about that. All right. Like all adult converts to Catholicism, he's an evangelical who likes trad aesthetics. Adult conversions are generally LARP. Will always side-eye it. Yeah. Same. As I'm sure you know, as a consistently persecuted Christian in the U.S. Yeah, he's such a fucking phony. All right, let's get to Ukraine. Yes, I saw breaking. Iran has suspended the entire 60-day negotiation period with the U.S. over the direct violation of the MOU's first clause with Israeli attacks on southern Lebanon, constituting a breach within less than 24 hours after the MOU was electronically signed, per Fars and Al Mayadeen. Iran's negotiating delegation had been preparing to depart for Switzerland to launch the first round of talks before Iran made the decision to suspend the entire trip. Iran will also not unilaterally fulfill its commitments, and until Iran is fully assured Israeli attacks on Lebanon have stopped and the U.S. has practically adhered to the first clause obligations, talks remain canceled. I mean, yeah, expected. Heads up, you're mentioned in the Fox News article in the playlist. Check the banner. Hassan Piker predicts wave of socialist midterm victories that will make Mamdani win unremarkable. That was a bar, dude. All right, let's talk. Let's look at, you were on Fox and Friends again today. Hell yeah. We're back, boys. We're back, boys and girls. They've been screeching about you and the DSA. Anyway, Ukraine blew the lid, literally blew the lid off of a Russian oil refinery, which is wild. They were like, hey, we're still here, by the way. Just remember. And let's see what Fox News is saying about it.
Moscow. Wow, look at the lid blowing off of that. It's all part of Kiev's biggest attack on Russia's capital since the start of the war more than 4 years ago. Foreign correspondent Jeff Paul, live from London. They've really bloodied Russia's nose here.
Yeah, there's a real disconnect between the Ukraine turning the tide PR in the West versus the reality on the ground. Kostiantynivka is a larger city than Pokrovsk and more strategic as a gateway to Donbass' final fortress city agglomeration. Russian army is taking control of the historic center of Kostiantynivka. 60% of the city is now under Russian control. It's real fucking. Also, this waving that banner feels strange. Feels strange seeing that. You know what I mean? Ukraine military is not about to collapse as some wish cast, though the state and society is in catastrophic shape with the population collapse and wild corruption. Its military has had somewhat better first half of 2026 versus first half of 2025, but the overall direction of the war hasn't changed. The battle for Liman is probably the most important battle now that Konstantinivka is falling. Liman is the northwestern gateway to the Slavyansk-Kramatorsk agglomeration. Seems there's a lot of misinfo and disinfo from all sides about what's actually going on there. Yeah, it's just they're doing Red Army LARP. This is Mark Ames. Ukraine has actually seen profound gains as opposed to where they were at like a year ago, 2 years ago, partially because of drones and autonomous warfare. That is true. What is this? Moscow manpad operators open fire right in the middle of the highway while civilians and civilian cars pass by a couple meters away. Is that a fucking that's gotta be what's his face? Yeah, that's like almost Turkish. Vur means hit. So I assume that's Chechen, right? That's a Chechen dude. I didn't know there was a lot of shared words. And then he turns around and says, "Oy, mashallah." Mashallah, kardeşim. Mashallah, kardeşim. Okay, wait, maybe he's Azeri actually. What the fuck? No, this is a Azeri. This is not a Chechen. This is Azeri. He said, "Mashallah, kardeşim." That's Azeri. Mashallah. I know what davai means, chatters. That's Russian. But he said vur, which I think is, it means hit in Turkish. Vur means hit in Turkish. But then when he said mashallah kardeşim is a Azeri dialect. So I don't know. Maybe the Dagestanis or the Chechens also use those same words, but I'm Chechen. That's not Chechen. Sounds like a Dagestani accent, but not like Dagestani words. Yeah, so it's probably Tatar, maybe? Vur kardeşim vur. Vur kardeşim vur. Sounds Azeri. Kardeş means friend. No, it means brother. But you can use it as implying that you're... Kardeş means brother, but you can say it as a friend as well. You're about to pull out Ponturism expeditiously? I mean, come on, bro. Azeris are Turkic people. What the fuck do you want me to say? Ne alaka? Kız da olabilir kardeş. Yes, it means sibling. Sorry. God damn. Yes, it can be a sister or a brother. It means sibling.
Yeah, John, and the oil refinery targeted is one of the largest in Russia and is responsible for producing more than a third of the region's fuel. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky says if Ukraine is going to burn, Moscow.
You know any Kırkık? Yes, when I went to high school, there was a dude whose name was Kırımgeray Kırımlı. He was Crimean and he was Tatar. Like or his family lineage was from Crimea. His name literally was Crimea from Crimea.
Will burn too. This is what the...
Oh, I know him? No, you don't. You don't know a dude I went to fucking middle school with, dude. I'm sure there's other people that are also named that. That would be crazy if you fucking know a person that I went to like fourth grade with. Bro, that's me. Okay. I am him. Okay, dude. Sure. Yeah, what school did we go to? What's the name of the school that we went to together? Huh? I lied. No. Yeah, exactly.
Attack looked like dozens of drones swarming the Moscow area, blanketing the city in black smoke and even causing black rain to fall on cars. While officials say the fires have been largely contained, the strikes are putting more pressure on Russia's fuel supplies.
Erdoğan Ankara Elementary
reports 1 in every 4 gas stations in the country is now under some
Atatürk
sort of
Elementary. You guys are so
restriction.
stupid.
President Zelensky says part of the motivation for the attack was to get Russian President Vladimir Putin back to the negotiating table. And during the G7 summit this week, President Trump said he has spoken to both Zelensky and Putin.
Something's going to happen. They're losing a lot of people, a lot of soldiers are losing soldiers. Both are losing a lot. Russia's losing more because they're the offensive ones. And when you're offensive in war, you lose more. Pretty simple.
Now, also at the G7, French President Emmanuel Macron, who says there's a shared commitment on Ukraine when he was asked.
Okay. Let's get to it. Harris Faulkner issues bold warning. Is this the one? Is this a socialism one? Yeah. Oh, here it is. Oh, let's go.
We will soon see Vice President J.D. Vance holding the White House press briefing.
Yes, we're back.
After the United States and Iran agreed to a memorandum of understanding aimed at ending the fighting and reopening the Strait of Hormuz permanently.
I got to pee before the best part comes. Hold on.
Questions remain over how the deal will be enforced, in fact, especially when it comes to nuclear weapons, and how exactly Iran's nuclear material will be handled. 60 days of negotiation now are the first step in all of this. And beyond that, I would imagine there will be a lot of questions about what's coming up in all of this. Remember, the vice president was there for the very first round of talks that kicked off the road that we're on right now into the ceasefire then and now this signed memorandum of understanding. So an important time at the White House, an important time to hear from him. We will take you there live when the vice president begins. Socialism is surging from coast to coast. With an eye on New York City today, it's the site of a fierce battle in the Democrat Party's ideological war. Yes, they're fighting each other in politics. NYC Mayor Zoran Mamdani, along with Vermont Senator Bernie Sanders, are both Democratic socialists, so they call themselves. And they are set to hold a Get Out the Vote rally this afternoon. It's in support of 3 Democrat socialist candidates running for House seats and looking to change the face of the Democrat Party. Well, they're doing that because they're picking up in numbers on the far left. I'm Harris Faulkner. You are in the Faulkner Focus. Let's take a look at those candidates now. They are among dozens Senator Sanders is backing nationwide. They all support radical left policies such as ending military aid to Israel, abolishing immigration customs enforcement, free or low-cost housing for all government-funded health care for all. Lots of free stuff. We know. We've been down this road with these candidates before. And massive tax hikes on wealthier Americans. And the line of wealth gets lower and lower and lower, approaching, well, when will it stop? Are they just going to overtax everybody? Republican strategist Luke Ball with me in Focus yesterday.
It seems like the Democrat Party is sliding to socialism. 74% of the Democrats say they like Democrat socialism. 66% said they're totally fine with socialism. And that ideology is just the junk food of modern American politics. It might feel good at the beginning, it might fill you up for a moment, but the reality is the crash is coming later.
A new headline reads, Mamdani tests his political clout in New York's primary as he looks to reshape the Democrat Party. And here's part of that. Quote, days before New York's primary elections, Mamdani is testing the limits of his newfound political muscle in a bid to reshape the Democratic Party in his state capital and in Washington, D.C., even if it means challenging his own party's leadership. Well, who does lead the...
Calling democratic socialism Democrat socialism is so funny because you know they're like it's a classic trope like where Republicans will always say the Democrat Party. They won't say it's the Democratic Party. They'll say it's the Democrat Party. So now it's Democrat socialism. I love whenever they go, wow, look at what these guys are promising as campaign promises, and then it's literally like, you know, things that we can pay for that virtually everybody wants. Like, who the fuck's going to look at this and be like, wow, you mean tax the billionaires, end the wars, Medicare for all, housing for all? Wow, I hate that. I hate that.
Democrats anyway. We couldn't even tell you that. I mean, you ask Democrats and they can't tell you. National correspondent Brian Yennis is at the site of tonight's rally. Brian.
And Harris, a Bernie
Right
Sanders
behind
senior
you.
advisor, says the senator and New York City Mayor
crazy.
Zohran Mamdani view the upcoming New York primary on Tuesday as, quote, an opportunity to radically change the Democratic Party. Today at 5 p.m. here in Brooklyn at the King's Theater, Mamdani and Sanders will take the stage in what is Sanders' latest effort to back far-left candidates in primaries nationwide and remake the party in his own Democratic Socialist image. For Mamdani, it's war. He's campaigning against Democratic Party leaders who even endorsed him for mayor, like 5-term Congressman Adriano Espaillat. Mamdani's instead backing Democratic Socialists Daria-Lisa Chevalier, Claire Valdez, and Brad Lander in 3 House races. The most controversial, Chevalier says she now deeply regrets deleted tweets that said she wipes her hands with the American flag, said former VP Kamala Harris, and called former President Biden a rapist. She's now campaigning on abolishing.
Wait, why are they showing this? Wait. Why are they showing this on Fox News? Are they trying to get people to go out and vote for Daria Lisa? They're gonna be like, wait a minute, I don't like what he said about the American flag, but this Joe Biden rapist thing, I like it. I like it quite a lot. Maybe I'll vote for this Daria Lisa. I have no nuance to add. Fuck Kamala Harris. Maybe I like this Daria Lisa. She don't like Kamala Harris. She don't like Kamala Harris. And she don't like Joe Brandon. And guess what? I've said those dang things about both of those dang demons.
Nice, and says all deportations are wrong, even for convicted criminals.
Is that something you still believe?
That phrase, yes. I still believe that all deportations are wrong.
Well, that would seem to also include people who were convicted of breaking U.S. criminal law. Is the deportation of those people wrong?
Yeah, I think the greatest example to this is my example that I've used. The greatest argument to this is, yeah, dude, I want them to be fucking held accountable. Like, I want them to be in prison. I don't want them to get a free trip back to what country they came from. If someone did a rape on U.S. soil and raped an American citizen or a tourist or a migrant, I want them to be in prison for their crimes. I know this sounds like an insane concept for many of these fucking dumbass Republicans, but I would like to punish people for doing crimes, okay? You know? Maybe that's just me. Maybe I'm not such a woke blowhard in the way that these prison abolitionist January 6th supporting Republicans are, you know? I know they love letting pedophiles roam free. I'm not one of those people. Okay?
Yes.
All 3 Sanders and Mamdani endorsed candidates are anti-Israel. Valdez and Chevalier are campaigning alongside far-left streamer Hassan Piker, who said, quote, Israel doesn't have a right to exist in its current formation and that America deserved 9/11. Here's Lander campaigning with Mamdani.
As a proud Jewish...
Fuck. What the hell? What the hell happened to the video?
We will soon
join you in that fight to end occupation and apartheid and genocide.
And genocide.
Establishment Democrats are fighting back against Mamdani and Sanders. Nancy Pelosi campaigning in the streets of Manhattan alongside Congressman Goldman. Harris, it is a political civil war within the Democratic Party.
I do find it really funny that these guys... I do find it really funny that these guys are finding themselves having such a nuanced perspective on who's a true communist within the Democratic Party. Because, like, what difference does it make? You spent years calling Nancy Pelosi a fucking communist, and now you're making a distinction between Nancy Pelosi and Hassan Piker? I thought we were all communist. What happened? Interesting. Perhaps there was some nuance. all of a sudden, these guys are, they're having a very different opinion when real communism comes around.
Damn, this guy's good.